Alex Cole.
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming over.
Oh, anytime. Honestly, I talk about you guys all the time, which I realized you know, the whole thing, tell people what you're doing. I'm telling you, I can't stop. I'm like, I really want Danny to meet you guys. And then I'm like, oh my God, it'll be so cool if I have a baby and then our babies can play together. Like I've literally talked about that at least 3 times since last time I saw you. and
we're at like fairly similar parts of our life. We're a little bit ahead.
Yeah.
We're like 5 years ahead.
That's great for me because I get to watch you guys and go, oh, right, that's how you do it. All
and
right,
you could potentially get all our shit after we're done.
Yeah.
I am a trash panda. I am literally at least 25% raccoon. So this is perfect. No, Jill's so sweet. You were mentioning that last time because I had mentioned that I was considering it and like that we were moving along with that like part of the relationship. And you were like, I'll have baby clothes for you.
Yeah.
I was like, oh.
We literally,
yeah, especially if you have a girl, so many things.
we already do because she's already outgrowing stuff.
Outgrows things so fast. Really long baby.
Long baby.
So
Y'all, I cut all my hair off.
he did.
Look at that.
There was an intervention.
It looks good.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I think it's a good haircut.
That's all right. I look a little bit younger, which I'll take it.
I think I like your hair shorter than I like it like longer.
Really?
Yeah, this is like distinguished dad hair.
Thank you.
It
Alex.
is. Yeah. It is a dad look for sure.
The other hair is like cool surfer guy I want to smoke a joint with. Which, you know.
Washed up skater. It used to work.
Up.
I mean, time and place. I'll watch like old videos and I'll be like, oh, I like it, and then I'll see his hair short and I'm like, oh, I like that too.
That's the cool thing with like partners. You get to kind of see them in all their different looks and phases, and it's really cool because then you get to revisit and like
you get to dress them up and tell them what to wear. Right,
yeah.
Jill?
Yeah.
So it's funny you said you were talking about us when Jill and I were considering who we could talk to about the industry. I was like, who is an accomplished person in the industry?
Yes.
Who's very well spoken and friendly and sweet. I was like, oh, let's get Alex to talk to us.
And here we are.
And here we are.
Thank you so much. No, I was super excited. And I think at one point you were like, I want to make sure it's worth your time. And I was like, are you insane? You guys are great. And,
I'm sure you've done podcasts before.
Yeah,
right?
I do them all, honestly. Anybody that asks me to be on just about, I will go on because I think it's fun. And I love talking. Like, that's my favorite thing about Cam.
Same.
So it's, but no, I was really excited about this one.
I get terrified to talk, but then once I start talking, I don't shut up.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's part of just like camming too. It's always like that.
I am going to finish tweeting because this is what I do. I take the photos. I'm good at that. And then I don't ever actually send the thing.
You are the first person I've seen that has used the hand symbols.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
It's so nifty. After I saw you do that for the first time, I was like, how did you do that?
I forgot. Do you guys use Samsung or iPhone? Or
I used to use Samsung, but I just switched to iPhone a couple years ago.
I think it's just a Samsung thing. Yeah. Because that's why most people don't do it. Most people have iPhone, and at least most people we know. And so it's, I've shown it to a few people, and they're like, how do you do that? And I'm like, well, Samsung is better. And
there you go.
I have something else that I'll show you that will blow your mind because there's a better feature than that. Because you can use the stop sign thing to start the video too. So you can video record that way, which is cool. But then you can pause the video.
And then come back to it.
You can not come back to it, but while you're recording it, it's like a TikTok. So I can hit record a little thing, hit pause.
Oh, I see.
And then move over
to your next
here. But I can't go back. So if I fuck it up, I fuck it up. But
still, it helps you kind of like make your video.
It's how I've been making all my little YouTube videos and shit. So you see me tapping the pause if I'm not sneaky about it. But I don't have to edit anything because I can just say my thought and then while I'm thinking of my next thought, hit pause.
That's so nifty.
It's really, I love it. And
so you're making YouTube videos?
S22, yes.
Can
I'm
you
trying.
tell us about it?
What kind of YouTube?
I'm all over the place because I feel like I'm just going to do everything that I'm interested in. And then if I find a niche that like works for me or that I like more than everything else, I'll focus on it. But right now it's just, I've been a YouTube fanatic since I was able to use my dial-up internet. and I was watching YouTube videos, no shit, at home. Mom would only give us an hour at a time. And my brother would close out of everything I had because it would slow the internet down more. So I was trying to watch anime on YouTube, Black Cat, very good anime. And I would load maybe a couple minutes of it in an hour, watch it really fast, and then have to start over because he would close out of it.
So in my house, we had dial-up too. It was a big deal because you would clog up the phone line.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then everyone in the house would get pissed at you. And I was at the bottom of the totem pole in my household.
Me too.
It was just me, my mom, and my older sister. So, yeah.
Yeah. There was a big fight over Messenger all the time with my sister and I.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Kids these days will never understand what we went through with the...
Whatever. We're all starting. Yeah. Ring, ring. Yeah. The sound. But it was also a pretty exhilarating sound because it meant you were getting on it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It was like, oh my God, fun. Fun's about to happen.
I used to talk with strangers on a program called ICQ. And it was kind of like Omegle or whatever. It would randomly match you with people.
Yeah.
And they would just pop. I was 13. And so your mom only let you have an hour.
Yeah.
It was the opposite for me. The computer was like a way for my mom to get me out of her hair. She was like, go get on the computer.
Computer babysitter instead of TV babysitter.
Exactly. Yeah. Basically. Well, I did TV too.
Okay.
Dragon Ball Z, Pokemon.
Fusion.
Yeah.
But I remember. Oh God. Now I'm just thinking about Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah, so you said fusion. I thought Dragon Ball Z too.
And I was thinking the fusion of the TV and the internet.
Oh, yeah. Because that's what they do when they fuse, Jill.
Yeah.
That's what they do.
Oh shit,
really?
yeah. You touch your fingers together.
Yeah. I made her watch.
You watched me the abridged version.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The unabridged version.
Or unabridged, sorry.
Yeah.
You should watch the abridged stuff because it's hilarious.
Yeah.
I'll find some of it. It'll be great. I make all my partners watch Yu Yu Hakusho instead of Dragon Ball Z because that one I think impacted my childhood even more. So, and I think it translates well. I think it's a fun watch when you're an adult too.
Okay.
So
I'll have to watch it.
Y'all should definitely check it out. It's so good. Give it a minute because it starts off and I think you'll be sucked in immediately, but it might get a little slow while they're explaining all the characters and stuff.
Yeah,
but
that's normal.
It makes me cry. It makes me laugh. It's so good.
Oh,
I had
that's
a
wonderful.
huge crush on the very first redhead I'd ever seen, which is in that show.
Oh my God.
But yeah, anyway, so
you and your partner watch it or used to?
So I've made every partner that I've ever had watch it, but I haven't made
It's like
Danny watch it yet.
Oh,
It is.
Danny's got to watch it now.
I know. I haven't made him watch it yet because we've been watching all this other shit, and he's very good at recommending things. So like we have this massive like log of stuff to watch. So it's like I really like stuff that's very different from what he generally likes, and he really likes stuff that's very different from what I generally like. But
Us too.
Same.
But the crossover, it works really well. I don't know.
It's good.
Like he likes romantic comedies.
Oh, does he?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's surprising
He's
for a
sweet.
man.
It's very sweet, and he's like, "Look how happy they are," and I'm like, "Look how sweet you are."
It's
and
fake. They're lying.
I feel like a lot of them probably I wouldn't ever watch them by myself, but when I
Right.
watch them with him, it's like, "Aw." And then I've introduced him to Korean horror movies, which he never would have probably tried.
They don't fuck
otherwise.
around.
They do not fuck around.
Yeah, they really
Is
don't.
it like more gory? What's the difference?
No, like it's just they put
It's
in so
creepier.
much effort.
Yeah.
Like
Oh, the
creepier.
storyline?
the storyline, the actors, the visuals,
Take it very seriously.
everything. Even the child actors are insanely good.
Yeah.
Like
Very creepy.
Train to Busan is a good example.
Don't know.
Okay, it's I think the best zombie movie that's ever been made.
Oh.
So even the extras who played the zombies put in their entire heart and soul into this movie. You can tell when you
we
watch
gotta
it.
try out this genre.
It's really good.
I don't think you would last, Jill. I tried to get her to watch
It
spooky
is quite
movies.
spooky. It
I
is
tried to
quite
watch her.
spooky.
Well, as long
So
as
all
it's
you
not
have to do-
paranormal. It's not paranormal. like
All you have to
It's
do
zombies.
Yeah, that's
so-
fine.
okay.
Zombies are okay.
is
Yeah.
dim the lights and start talking creepy, and Jill loses it. She
We
gets
all-
so angry.
We all have our shit.
Yeah, we do.
Anything where it's me being eaten alive is
Oh.
my thing.
Okay.
Oh.
It's funny you said
Zombies are-
paranormal.
oh, yeah,
because
paranormal.
actually paranormal does nothing. I'm just like,
Oh.
oh well.
It's fake, so I can dissociate.
Yeah, but for me, it's like if an animal is like eating me alive, then that's a real thing that could really
True.
happen.
See, that makes sense. That actually happens to humans in the past. Like, you know, when you get scared of ghosts and zombies and aliens, there's not really there arguably
Well,
is, but
I mean, there is in that when we couldn't explain what was happening, we created all those things. But I mean, as far as evidence of it really being there, that's debatable. So
yeah, totally.
I mean, and it is debatable. I wouldn't say it's necessarily one way or the other 100%, but I don't personally believe in ghosts, at least at this point in my life. I could change my mind.
Okay.
So
Sounds very agnostic, but I'm the same way.
yeah, I feel like I'm an agnostic atheist. So I'm agnostic in that I don't claim knowledge of anything, but I'm an atheist in that I do not believe in any
Yeah.
theism.
Yeah.
So,
Well, the distinction, at least that I was taught, was that atheists are like quite sure, you know, they believe there is definitely not anything. And there was a stage in my life where I was atheist
mhm.
when you're like young but you can't gaze into the Hubble deep field galaxy photos and not be like, well, there could be.
Mhm. I always leave room to be wrong because
Yeah.
I feel
Mhm.
like that's something I struggled with when I was younger is
Mhm.
admitting when I was wrong because you're embarrassed.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
then, but that leads to you doing shitty things. So it's like, just admit you're wrong and then you can move forward.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, I always leave. I was even having an argument with someone on Twitter today, which
Really?
surprise. No, never go on Twitter when you're having like a bad day because you will
Yeah.
argue with someone.
Yeah.
Yeah,
'Cause
yeah.
people are just mad. So
Yeah,
it's,
you will get triggered too. Just you will see something.
there's beautiful shit on there too, and I think Twitter is extremely useful. I think it's my favorite social media platform. It has a lot of freedoms, and I see a lot of like revolutionary, like societal change being started up on Twitter. Like it's a great
Okay.
organization method for people trying to effect change. Like
It has its
and
quirks,
document,
but it is
yeah,
good.
and document what's happening because you
Mhm.
can upload a video like that, and then it's on the internet, and anybody can see it, and so
Yeah.
you can let people know about bad things that are happening and stuff like that. So I love Twitter. I don't get it.
I enjoy Twitter because I feel like I'm getting people's real opinions, especially now that,
Mhm.
you know, I know it's
Yeah.
really controversial that Elon bought Twitter, but I feel like more than ever, things aren't getting taken down. So you're really
Yeah.
seeing what people think. You're really seeing certain things that are happening. So I'm enjoying the non-censorship. There are parts of Twitter that I think are kind of a hellscape.
I also really liked the
Mhm.
Twitter Blue thing because now I can.
Yeah.
I just pay for it. I don't care. It's a
You have
business
so
write-off.
many imitators.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right?
There's so
That's
many
crazy.
catfish.
There's so many fake Alexes.
It's honestly the bane of my. It's probably the worst thing about my job. Is catfish because I get emails and messages and DMs and all kinds of shit telling me every fucking day, like, hey, this
Yeah.
person took like thousands of dollars from me, or hey, this person, I thought they were in love with me and now I'm broke, and like it's like
That's so
I-
shitty.
You mean
And
you weren't really in love with that person?
and my name is not Bethany. I don't know, like it's and they choose weird
Wow.
names and stuff for me too, like Beatrice is one that comes up a
Ah.
lot. I don't know if
So
I-
use all your photos, but then say Beatrice.
Yeah. So they're like,
Gosh.
I'm Beatrice, and like I'm a 25-year-old girl, and I'm just looking for love, and I have all these bills and things like. I literally had, this was the worst one. So I had, or the one that not the worst one, the one that sticks out the most in my mind. These two women found me on Instagram, and their dad had been talking to Beatrice and had been giving her money and was going to like start giving her a lot of money, and so they were like, we have to put a stop to this. So they found me, and we did a video chat for over an hour, and he
Wild.
was looking me in the face and telling me I was lying, and he didn't know why I was like talking to him this way, and he
Wow.
thought I loved
You
him.
really drank the Kool-Aid.
And not until the very end of the conversation did it really sink in that he was like, I understand now, thank you. And then at the very end of the conversation, he was like, but I do love you. And I was like, no, you don't. No, you don't. Mm-mm. No, you don't. You sweet old man. And he was an older man, like he was a veteran. And I still follow his daughters on Instagram, and he's
crazy.
He's doing great. And that
he's not talking to Beatrice anymore.
But I can't. Not everyone's daughters reach out to me, and not everybody has somebody that would do that. And
that's like a straight catfish, like a real catfish story.
Yeah, and that's how they are. They're getting really bad. The law needs to catch up to these people because this is ruining people's lives, and there's nothing I can do about it. Because the last time I tried to report a catfish, that's what got my 7th Instagram account deleted. Because then they were like, "Oh, you're impersonating Alex Cole," and they deleted me. And I sent in my ID, and they were like, "No."
They suspended her real one and then kept the fake ones.
Yeah. Every time they get rid of that, and Twitter's never, knock on wood, deleted me ever.
Yeah.
And so,
despite all the freaky shit,
like I'd follow their rules and they respect it, and that's all that needs to happen. But Instagram, delete. And
Instagram.
And I don't even push the rules. I am of a firm belief that we, as like sex workers or people who work in adult or however you want to classify, like it's our responsibility to follow the rules of social media so that people that shouldn't be exposed to things aren't. Yeah. And as long as we're following those rules, leave us the fuck alone.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
So, Alex.
Yes.
How long have you been in the industry?
Since February 1st, 2015.
Oh, wow. You like remember the day.
I'll never forget.
Okay.
And it was my very first cam show. And I had been researching for a couple weeks before, and I had made my Twitter. I had been researching for maybe 1 or 2 months, and then I made my Twitter 2 weeks before my first cam show. Okay. And I promoted it, and I got on with my friend who I had figured out was a cam girl. And she was also like a nurse.
Okay.
And, like,
interesting.
Yeah, and she was just doing it for fun, and she was like, "Well, if you don't want to do it by yourself, let's just do the first couple together." And the first 3 cam shows I did were with her, and then I broke off on my own.
That's so cool.
So she inspired you to get started, or did you hear about it before that?
It wasn't that. It was I was working 3 jobs, 2 retail jobs and 1 restaurant job, and sending the money home and like stuff like that. Like I was trying to take care of everything, and I was dying, and I didn't know what to do. And I had a college degree and everything, and I was like, none of this is the way it's supposed to be. And my boyfriend at the time, who was not a great boyfriend, but this is the one thing that I'll be like, thanks for forever. He's like, why don't you just, we were fighting about me not having enough time to spend with him because I was working 3 jobs. And we were living in 1 bedroom in his friend's house because he made me get rid of my apartment because he didn't think I was safe there. And and so we were arguing about that, and he's like, why don't you just cam? And I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? And he's like, if my ex could do it, you can do it. And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about.
That sounds like a challenge.
And I was like,
it does.
He didn't believe me that I didn't know, so he pulled it up on Pornhub, the Live Jasmine.
Okay,
and I got
Live Jasmine. Yeah,
I got so mad because it was my computer, and I was like, "That's a virus. You can't click on that shit." I was like,
Jill and I thought the same thing.
I thought it was fake too.
Like
I was like, not real.
I was like, there's not gonna be girls just sitting there to talk to you. Are you insane? And he was like, no, it's real. And then he showed me Chatterbait, and I was like, okay, this looks like a real website.
Yeah, it is. It is.
And I started my research, and I was like, this would be amazing.
Yeah.
If people would actually like want to talk to me and watch me like this, because the first people I watched were Katie Cat and Jolene Brody, and I was like,
I remember when Katie was huge on
Katie.
Chatterbait before she switched,
and Jolene was on MFC, so I had both, and I was watching both of them, and they have very different styles, and I was like, if people would actually enjoy watching me and I could do stuff like this, I'd be happy forever.
Yeah.
Just to have people talk to me like this. And then I got on and I was so fucking scared. And I wanted to make everybody happy so bad that I was like, I'll do anything. I'll do anal for 20 tokens. Like, whatever you want.
Jill and I the same thing. We thought a token was $1 too.
Yeah. We had 100 tokens for like, oh my God.
Yeah. It was like, how much? What's a token? Like, I was like, I don't know what's happening. But
magical internet money.
That's why I did the research before. I was like, I have to know what I'm doing when I go into this. So I had like checked through all the sites. I picked Chatterbait. I was like, okay. And then I signed up for a shit ton of websites like My Girl Fund and all that stuff. And
that's so responsible of you. Like, so what's interesting is Jill and I started around the same time. We were August 2014.
Yeah.
Right? We didn't do any research.
We didn't.
We just signed up and we're like, let's try this.
Well, I think we like were on Adult Friend Finder, I think at one point.
Well, so we just Googled
and
cams.
I think we had like sex on there.
We just Googled like live streaming sites, and
Yeah.
that came up, which it's trash, you guys. I don't even know if we're allowed to even mention that site.
Oh yeah,
but
oops.
But it's trash. Don't go there.
No, don't go there.
But people are like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah,
and we're
they're
like,
like,
"We're having sex for money." And
That's
they're
not
like,
what we said. Jill.
Well, you know, they were like, "There are other places
We're a
you
little
can
more
go
coy
to do
about it.
this."
Yeah.
You know, there's like, go to an actual like campsite, and we're like, "Oh yeah,
Like what? And then we joined a different campsite.
we did."
Well,
and then it
it
was terrible.
It was kind
And
of a
then
mess.
I quit. I
Well,
was like, we
almost
got in an
quit.
argument. No, I quit that site. I wouldn't do it
Oh yeah, he refused to get on
because
it.
it was privates only. And for a man, it's terrible. Like when you do privates only, it's like, 'cause you've done probably several privates in your day. So there's always the viewers that are like 8 minutes into the private, they just dip.
yeah.
You know, they get theirs and then they go because it's by the minute. Yeah, I get it.
It's
you
harder
know?
when you have a penis.
It is because
Yeah.
the first 2 minutes you're yelling at your penis and you're just like, dude, please cooperate. I need you right now. And
Yeah.
then like you get in a rhythm and then all of a sudden dude disappears and then the little box pops up on the screen. It's like, all right, get your clothes back on.
Yeah, right.
And up down is always really hard for dudes.
It
so
is,
it's like
yeah.
I feel for dude cam guys. I feel like guys in general in adult don't get as much credit generally as they should.
Mhm.
You know, there's definitely guys that like make as much as girls and stuff like that. But I would say for the general male talent, doesn't get as much appreciation.
We're kind of like the I'm not going to say unsung heroes, but we're just overlooked a lot. Yeah. It's difficult to bend your dick into pretzels for a job.
Yeah. And I think it's literally ignorance. I think it's just people not thinking about how hard it is. Because if you don't have a dick, you'd have to actually talk to someone with a dick and be like, is that difficult? And no one's thinking to do that. So they're just like, whatever, it's easy.
It does seem to come naturally to some men, though, and I'm not one of those men, weirdly enough, despite having done it for so long. It was like a learned behavior. My first several live streams and my first really big live stream were total flops.
Yeah.
You know, like...
I mean, that's how penises work. It's the nerves.
Yeah, it is. I mean,
Yeah.
we had the talk and everything, and they were just like, "Fuck you. We're not gonna stand up for you." anyways, enough about me. I'm curious. How do you think you've changed over the years of doing adult work? Like, do you think it's made you nicer, meaner? Do you think it has made you more of an exhibitionist?
Okay, I think I've gone through a bunch of phases. I think overall, I would sum it up by saying that it accelerated any growth that was going to happen. Like, I feel like it just took the progression my life was going to take and sped it up like really fast and put a positive like spin on it. Like, because before I started camming, I was very submissive, and this isn't necessarily negative, but for me it was. I was extremely submissive. I just wanted to not be alone, and I was there to do anything for anyone, whatever you needed.
You're a people pleaser.
As long as you would just please be nice to me. And
So if I'm hearing correctly, like a people pleaser, afraid to say no to people, afraid to like ask questions or be noisy. And
cam, since you're not looking at anyone's faces or hearing their voices, is the perfect place for a damaged, trauma-filled person to go, no, fuck you, block, and then go, I'm in control of this area. Like, I think for a period of time in my life, food was an issue for me because it was the only like area I could control, and it was a brief period, but I remember that. And with cam, it was like the same rush of like, at the beginning, the rush, but a more positive. Sorry, that was super messy. I hope you guys get what I mean. But that same rush of like, I'm in control. Yes. So it was just that freedom of just being like, I can do anything, and I'm in charge here, and this is my world, and you have to live in it or leave. And so I think it took me from being this like very doormat kind of person, and it built me up. And then the positive reinforcement from people on cam is just so nice.
Oh yeah,
it's a huge like boost to my mental health anytime I cam, really, just about. So it's I think that helped me a lot. I got a lot of advice from people on cam where it was
That's
like,
true. Yeah, I get a lot of really good advice from our viewers.
yeah.
And every once in a while, I'm like, will someone older than me please tell me what to do with my life?
Yeah, and they tell you so many things about so many different things, and like how to handle people, and like what's normal and what's not, and like I feel like it was like having the parents I never had, like like the,
I know what you mean.
in a weird way,
Yeah.
but like yeah. So I think that was very good, and then I think porn was kind of a
So then
different
eventually
thing.
you took a step from being a cam model to doing adult, like
Yeah.
real adult work. Like, how long did that take? Like, how long did you do cams before you shot your first scenes?
4 years,
Oh, wow, that's a long time.
January 2019.
She's really good at dates.
Generally, I signed with an agency in November 2018, but I
Okay.
didn't really start shooting until either the very end of that year or the very beginning of 2019. It's a
Okay.
little bit
Okay.
blurry.
And did you like hit the ground running, or did you ease into it?
Yeah, running. So
Yeah.
I called and talked to a bunch of different agents, and which I recommend if you're thinking about getting into porn, and if you're gonna have an agent, I would say talk to at least 5.
What are people
And-
looking for when they talk to an agent?
Okay, so the things you want to talk about, at least from my perspective,
Mhm.
are what's your dynamic going to be? Because some agents are like, they act like they're your boss. Some agents act like they're your partner, and some agents act like they're your employee. And you have to know which one you want and which one you'll work best with. I do not work well as an employee.
Mhm.
That's kind of not the point of this whole thing. But some people really like that. And I don't want to be your boss either and have to tell you what to do. I want you to
Right.
be my partner, and you know your role and I know mine, and we
Mhm.
help each other.
Yeah.
And that's good for me. So I would ask about that. I would ask about your goals. So my goals specifically are to get my name spread further out,
Mhm.
and that's my main.
You just
Goal?
wanted to be more well known.
Yeah, because that funnels everything back to my own stuff, which is a symbiotic relationship, because then I'll continue shooting pro scenes. They'll get a really nice pro scene, and then I'll get new fans who like
Mhm.
my shit and who will watch all my pro scenes, but who will also want more and come get my stuff.
Mhm.
So I feel like that's a good thing. I wanted for a while to win awards, but I gave up on that after the first year. I was like, oh, never mind. Yeah, I think with an agent, tell them what your goals are and ask how they're going to help you get there. And then I would say, do not sign a contract do not sign a contract over a year.
Mhm.
Anything longer than a year is bullshit,
Mhm.
because they only need a year to show you how good they work, and they
Mhm.
should be able to earn your business again after a year.
Mhm.
Honestly, though, I don't even have a fucking contract, because my agent just proves to me every day that she's doing a good job.
Awesome.
And I'm with
That's
OC
great.
Modeling. So if you want to not have a contract,
Mhm.
then don't.
Yeah, I've heard
Yeah.
of some agencies. One case in particular, this girl had a $20,000 buyout clause in
I
her
know.
contract.
I know exactly the agency.
Yeah, and they're like known for doing that.
Mm-hmm.
But
They're getting sued.
they
So-
are.
Oh, by a lot of people. So
Wow.
that'll be fun. He dodged the papers.
Uh-huh.
They have to serve them
Right.
for 2 months.
Wow.
Crazy.
Yeah. So that's
Well,
happening.
they'll get you eventually. They start dressing up like the mailman. We'll dress up like the UPS guy. Just got served.
I think they got him now, so we'll see how that all goes.
Yeah, it's like unfortunate. I hear all these different stories about agencies, but sounds like you.
But it's getting competitive for agencies because
Yeah.
adult work's been decentralized. You know.
Right.
Girls are a lot less, and guys are a lot less hesitant to talk about issues they're having with their agency. So now agencies have to like do a little better, because before it was, if you talk about your agency, no agency will work with you, or that was
Right.
the concern.
Right.
That's what bad agents tell their clients. But the truth is that a lot of the good agents hate the bad agents, but they
Right.
have to be cordial and they have to work with them, so they can't really talk to you about that. But they will in private tell you exactly how they feel about the bad agency.
What is bizarre to me is that there are a handful of agents and agencies that have either been accused of sexual misconduct or they've done things that are just incredibly out of line, and they're still working. They're still getting talent. This is very shocking to me.
Porn is just a very gray area where a lot of things like slide, and I think it's because it's a weird business. It's not like an office building where if your boss tells you your ass looks great in a skirt, that's clear and you can go to HR and go, he told me my ass looked great in a skirt.
Right.
If you're on a porn set, that's kind of what the director's supposed to tell you.
Right.
That's
Because
just part
like,
of wardrobe.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, it's
At-
the whole part of being there is, you know,
But-
your butt needs to look good.
And the majority, I would say at least 80% of the people that I've interacted with or worked for have been fantastic.
Right.
And then there's a good solid 15%, maybe 14% who are annoying or shitty to deal with, but not abusive. And then there's that 5% that it just, they shouldn't be there. And that gray area allows people like that to slide in. So we just have to be able to talk to each other about it. We have to be able to use evidence when we talk to each other about it. Yeah. And we have to be able to not penalize people when they speak about things and show evidence.
That last one is
right.
big because I see people finally getting the guts to speak out and then they just get bombed by people.
And it's rough because I see all sides of it. I see all the things because I've been on all sides of it. I had a guy tell me that I violated his consent in a femdom video. But thankfully, I had 5 hours of B-roll where I was like, at what point in time was there a problem?
Yeah.
And he stopped talking about it because there was never a problem. And I rewatched the footage and I was checking in every 5 minutes because I was worried about him because he'd never done a femdom scene.
Well, I was just going to say, femdom, you're being dommed. I mean.
It was, okay, so he was tied like this on a cross with a satin ribbon in his mouth instead of a ball gag.
Cute.
Okay.
And he got a hand job. And that was the video.
That sounds like a pretty nice day.
I did spit on his chest once.
Okay.
I asked first.
Okay.
Right.
But I have the whole B-roll. And there's even a part where he goes, hey, you don't need to check in so much. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. Everything's going great.
Huh.
You know? And then what happened was after the video got posted, his fans were like, I can't believe you did a femdom scene.
Yeah, I can't believe you let a woman do this to you.
Got it.
Yeah, and he's a cam guy even.
Okay.
So later I'll tell you.
Okay.
But I see him at the expos and I'm just like, hey, chief.
I think I might know.
I think you probably do.
That's cute.
But it's like that's why I tell all creators have B-roll, please, because it's a gray business. Like we're not an office building. We can't just, we have to protect everybody. And I think that's why I've actually advocated over and over again for B-roll on set to be mandatory because even if you just have a little GoPro in the corner with audio, like that's something. And it takes out all the he said, she said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So even if it's just not cutting the video in between or cutting and then filming and then cutting and then going back to filming, like there's got to be something we can do to just document what's happening on set so that it's not this he said, she said thing. I know some people have security cameras that upload to servers and that seems to be working really well.
Yeah.
But
Well,
I
people
guess
use
we don't-
IP cameras for that.
Yeah. I was going to say we don't run into it as much just because we do
'cause you're
everything
live.
live.
Yeah.
And we always do like a check-in where we do typically mute it, but we obviously have that footage. But we do offline shoots occasionally, which is
It's pretty
smart.
rare. But
It's pretty rare,
Yeah.
but we do it sometimes.
Jill,
It's
we're
good.
so vanilla. It's pretty rare that we'll
Even-
even run into an issue where we
No, but I
like
still
step
think
into the
that's
gray.
smart.
it's a just in case because even
Yeah.
if you do nothing wrong, I had a guy friend who okay, I'll try to tell it quick. Oh, but even if when you're doing those shoots off live, even if you just get a little BTS like every now and then showing like what it's like on set, that's great.
Yeah.
Because that's been enough in the past to be like, hey, what? And then show like, here's us giggling. Here's you eating. When
You were having a good time.
I saw a video where the model had said, they didn't give me a break the whole day and I didn't eat anything from the moment I got there. And I was like, oh, well, let me see the video footage. And they made her a fruit plate. The director hand cut all the fruit himself and delivered it to her for her 30-minute break in her bedroom by herself. And she took pictures the whole time and the fruit turned brown and then it was time to shoot.
Got it.
So, having that B-roll is really, really helpful.
Alex, can you talk to us about dating in the industry?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know that we ever like got through talking the first question, like how porn's changed you over time.
Oh, yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
yeah.
How like, we kind of got to the point where you started doing like mainstream stuff. Did that change you, I guess, to kind of step backwards.
So I think that, thank you, by the way. I ramble a lot.
No, it's fine.
So
I'm
this
here
is-
for it.
I
like
this,
it.
This is how it goes. So you got to
I
reel
like
me
it.
in. But I would say Cam really prepped me. I feel like if you're going to do porn, maybe start on Cam. Do
Yeah.
Cam from 18 to 21.
Mhm.
You know, if you really want to start right when you can start anyway. I think I started at 23. I think that's a healthy age.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
healthy
I
age.
agree.
Yeah,
You
I started
know?
when I was 28.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think your brain is almost done developing when you're in your early 20s.
For a
so-
woman.
Yeah, for a lady. No one cares about boys.
Mine's still not even developed.
That's okay. That's what you have Jill for. She's got enough brain for everybody. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, I think Cam prepped me for porn because it had built me up to where I
Right.
was way better than if I had gotten into porn when I first started, I wouldn't have stayed in.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have. I'd have been gone in less than a year, and I'd have never come back. And I'd have been like, "That was terrible."
Would it have been like a mental thing? Would it have been like a personal care thing? Would it have been a personality?
So even with 4 years of Cam prep,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I was not 100% ready to
No.
advocate for myself on set
Yeah.
because I was prepped. I was even dating a director who encouraged me, helped me meet the agents, and then prepped me for like, hey, when you're on set, this is how it might be.
Mhm.
Like, and I still wasn't ready. So that's the unfortunate thing. But at the same time, I've only had 2 bad experiences in porn, and they were both at the very beginning. So I learned very fast.
Mm-hmm.
And those were only bad experiences that happened because they were with people that didn't take boundary setting seriously any of the times that I tried to do it.
So I've noticed at least, there are producers that in particular like to book brand new talent.
Mm-hmm.
One, because brand new talent have a tendency to sell pretty well, but also brand new talent, they don't know what's usual and what's
No.
unusual.
Yeah. So that becomes
Exactly.
their norm.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the people that just only book new talent have a tendency to kind of
They're sus.
yeah.
I think of people that only book new talent as being sus,
Mhm.
but I understand why some companies would do it and it not be a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's like I said about porn and everything being a gray area to begin with. When you're like, I'm only going to work with people who are inexperienced and don't know what's happening, then you need to take on that extra responsibility
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
hold their fucking hand through the whole thing
Mhm.
and not ask them to do anything extra. Talk to their agent if you want them to do anything extra,
Mhm.
because that is a huge thing that I did know from Cam to not accept,
Mhm.
but a lot of people don't. I went to go-sees in the very beginning, and a go-see is when a company is interested in booking you, but they don't know if your pictures are accurate.
Okay.
So I was 27, 28, and they were like, go ahead and come in. Because they're like, I don't know about you.
Mhm.
Something's not matching. And I went in, and what happens in a real go-see is you go in, you talk to somebody in the office, and you take all your clothes off, and you let them take pictures of you,
Mhm.
but
Okay.
like just a front, a back, and a side,
Mhm.
and that's it. And then you put all your clothes back on, and then you leave, and
Yeah.
that's the whole thing.
And they like use those photos to like market you basically,
No.
or even decide whether or not.
So those photos, you're not supposed to wear any makeup, and you're supposed to wear clothes that don't leave any lines on your body or change your body shape at all.
Mhm.
And since they were not sure of your photos online, those are just to show to the company. And then the company's like, oh, you do look like your
This
photos.
is what she looks like.
Yeah. And so
basically.
those will
Yeah.
never be seen by anybody but the company, the people that do the talent booking.
Okay.
So, and whoever's interviewing you. But one of the first go-sees I went to was for Porn Star Cam House.
Mm.
And
I'm
was
not familiar.
bad. It was so bad. I show up. It's in LA. Now he's here, by the way.
Okay.
He lives in Vegas now.
I've never heard of.
It's
Porn
not
Star.
a big one.
Okay.
And so, but he books with like the agents.
Okay.
So he's
Okay.
not really in the cam side of things, but he does it all
Irony.
live.
Okay.
And so
Oh.
I show up, we're in his apartment, and the go-see's kind of normal, but like, you know when a guy's talking to you and he's like leering the whole time?
Mhm.
Like it was like that. And I was like, okay, whatever. And so we're getting through the interview, and he wanted to like make out with me, and I was like,
was he like, I want to
No.
see how you kiss?
Yeah.
Like how did
Yeah.
you?
Is that how he
Yeah.
worded it?
yeah, he was like, I want to see how you perform. And
Okay.
he was trying to lead it in, and I was like, no, that's not what a ghosty is.
Folks,
Yeah.
just real fast, if someone ever asks you to do that, that's not.
There's
That's-
no such thing as an audition. Casting couch is a fantasy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's
That is
no.
not real.
Yeah.
So
People come to perform knowing they're going to perform on casting couch. Yeah, that's not. There's no audition. There's no getting a
No.
girl. If someone's asking you to do that, they're trying to take advantage of you.
So he's trying to like get me to like perform with him to
Mhm.
see how I perform, and I was like,
Mhm.
I'm not fucking you.
Yeah.
Like, and so I'm upset, but I'm in this apartment alone with this guy, so I'm being
Aw.
cordial, and so I'm like, I don't know, that's not part of a normal go-see.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh well, you know, we can talk to Sandra about that, or no, it was actually we can talk to Riley about that because I was with Hussey at the time, and I was like, yeah, we can. And then
Yeah,
he
yeah,
backed down from that.
Okay.
And then we talked a little bit longer. And then what was it? He was like, oh, I asked who my talent would be.
Mhm.
Because I was about to leave and I had a weird feeling. And I was like, so who would my talent be for these shows? And he was like, oh, it'd be me. And I was like, really? And he goes, yeah, my business partner so-and-so. Yeah, I think you'd be a little too heavy for him, but you'd be just my type. I would definitely cream pie you. And I was like,
Oh
and
man.
I went,
Dude, is that how you're talking to people? Really?
I was,
Ah.
and I headed out the door, and I was like, I don't think we're gonna be able to work together.
Did you ever end up working with them?
No.
Okay, I was just curious.
No,
you know?
definitely not. No, I called my agent, and he was like, "What the fuck? He said that to you?"
Were
And
you like, is this normal, or were you just
No.
automatically new?
automatically angry? So I was like, I was in my car. I didn't even leave.
You look like the
And-
kind of girl I would cream pie, bro. Come on.
And that he tried to neg me right before, where he's like, "Oh, you'd be too heavy for my business
what-
partner, but
what
don't
is
worry,
that?
I would fuck you." It's like, honey, if you paid off my entire mortgage, I wouldn't have sex with you. So, but I've heard from other girls since then that he got them to have sex with him.
Well, yeah, I'm sure
or
it's
make out with
happened.
him.
Yeah.
Or
Because that's
or
why
whatever.
he's doing it, because it's worked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's that you got to be really careful about that. And I think that agents have a bigger responsibility to warn girls, but at the same time, you have to tell your agent if there is an issue
Mhm.
because, and I don't know if this is necessarily true, but what I was told at the time was I had no idea.
Mhm.
Like, no one's ever told me he's acted like that
Mhm.
before.
Mhm.
And so I don't know if people just aren't saying anything or if he's like, well, a couple people did, but not that many.
And there's certain people in the industry where like they get rubbed the wrong way by people, and then other people they were totally fine with, and so
Yeah.
it may be like an every once in a while thing. They have issues with them.
But what was really nice about working with Hussey, because I stayed with them for 2 years, was that when it became after that if I called and I was like, hey, this happened, I complained so little
Mhm.
that he would go, okay,
They took you
and then
seriously.
Yeah.
and then he'd go and try to deal with it.
Mhm.
And but yeah, he ended up being like, hey, thank you for telling me these things because no one tells me this and I need to know.
Yeah.
And I'm like, don't necessarily like not let people work with certain people, but tell them exactly all the information. Because I had a problem with Wank's VR director, Jimmy Lifestyles, who they finally fired him, which was
Okay.
really nice. And what was I going to say? Sorry.
No, it's okay.
I lost my
I'm
train.
I
listening.
have tons of questions, so
Yeah,
I
go
can
for it,
just
go
pick
for
up
it, go
from
for
there.
it.
So you're talking about people that are taking advantage of their position. Is there like a definitive no industry list? Is there a list?
No.
Why not?
Because human beings are fallible, and I don't
Yeah.
even support a list because people
Yeah.
have vendettas against each other. People
Right,
lie.
and some guy
That's
may
true.
may want to destroy another.
Another talent, like,
Yeah.
and that kind of shit happens all the time already.
What about people with
So-
the repeat allegations? Which
Even-
there are male talent out there that have 3, 4, 5 times in their career done things that are.
Here's the thing. So I see both sides. Again, I've been on both sides of it, where it's like I prefer to not make a personal judgment until I see actual evidence, because without actual evidence, I don't know what's in anyone's head or in anyone's heart. And if I wasn't there to witness anything, I can't speak on it. So, and that's how I approach
That's
people
fair.
with my own stories. Like the stories I've told you today and the stories I've told like online about like Jimmy Lifestyles or whatever, if I don't have evidence, I don't expect anyone to just believe me because I'm Alex and I said so. Like, you can take what I said and file it away, and that's what I want you to do, so that if you ever work with that person, you can go, somebody said something bad happened, so I'm going to be on guard. Like, that's all I want. I don't even give a fuck. If you go and work with somebody I had a problem with, I'll never get mad at you, because this is work, and you're your own person in your own body. And just because I had a bad time with somebody doesn't mean you will. And the thing about multiple allegations that can get messy is when you think about it, sure, like 5, 10 people, that's a lot of people. But if you look at how long somebody's been in the industry and how many people they've worked with,
Like 1,000 scenes.
guys can do multiple scenes in a day.
Yeah.
So if a guy has been working in the industry for 2 years, my boyfriend has shot over 200 scenes in a little over a year. So that's not always like a different girl, but a lot of guys work with a shit ton of girls.
Yeah.
So all you have to do is piss off a few people.
Right.
Like, and so that's the hard part. That's why I can't go with he said, she said on most things. I just file it. And if there's evidence, then I go off. Like if there's a video, if there's text messages, if there's audio,
Something
if there's
definitive.
anything. Yeah, anything. That's why we have to have B-roll.
Yeah.
Because anybody can say anything about anybody. Women, men, non-binary, it doesn't matter. We are all capable of good and we are all capable of bad.
Of course.
Yeah.
So
Just because I've seen a few, I suppose, unofficial
another
lists
reason is
floating
because
around.
you can get sued
Oh.
for making a list like that.
Oh, really?
I'm not 100% studied up on it, but I was reading something about it today in a group chat where
For
we were talking about
defamation
a
or-
list.
Okay, slander or something like that.
Because we were talking, I'm in a ladies group chat for Vegas, and we were talking about making a list of safe talent, and then we were talking about making a list of unsafe talent, and you can't do that because it's like work discrimination. You can cost people money. Like it's libel,
Okay.
or like there were a few different things that you could get in trouble for.
Okay.
So that's the other reason is it's not safe to make a list like that unless it's super encrypted or super like hidden who actually made it.
Because I think the one I did see floating around had some people on there that I had worked with before, like several of Hussey's people are on there, and I was like, oh, I worked for Riley for a couple scenes.
Yeah, I mean it's unfortunate that like,
but their agency is doing quite well right now. They have a ton of girls, and it's conceivable that someone might be jealous.
I mean, I know firsthand that a lot of the time things aren't black and white; they're usually gray.
Right.
So
Yeah.
if people are having trouble with each other, there's generally a reason. I've had a girl post bullshit about me because I was dating somebody that she wanted to date.
Oh.
I've had that happen, but like I
want to get to dating. That was my
I've also had people like tell me that I'm gonna have a great fucking day with somebody and I have the worst day of my whole career. Or I've had people tell me like you're gonna have a terrible time if you work with that person, and then I go work with them and they're fine.
Yeah.
And
Right,
it's like
right.
I don't know what happened here.
personality dynamics, maybe, and people
It
have
could
bad
be
days.
misunderstandings.
Yeah.
I think too, once you've been in the industry for a while, you get really fucking jaded because you understand. Like at first, it's like Cam, where it's like it's this rosy family thing, and then slowly as you go, it starts to fall apart, and you're like, oh no, we're all just still people. Like we're all still fucking up and having our own like misinterpretations of each other and like doing things that are selfish and asking for things we shouldn't or whatever. So it's just messy.
I'm curious. So you ended up changing agencies. Was there what went into that decision?
I felt like I hit my ceiling with Hussey. I feel like they're a really good starter agency, especially with Riley. But
Once you
then-
run through their contacts and everything, he's like, yeah. Okay.
And the other thing too is he is coming back from having a not great reputation. So like
Right.
during the time that I was with the agency, I think he made a lot of personal growth. But I did realize that it was holding me back a little bit from directors who didn't want to book with me because I was still with him.
Yeah,
Okay.
I've booked girls through their agency before, and I've got messages from people like, I can't believe you associate with them.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Which
I
is frustrating.
honestly didn't know, and I know ignorance isn't really an excuse.
Sure, but it's
But to
like
be honest, my experience with them wasn't
It was
particularly
fine.
negative. It was
Yeah.
fine.
And-
it wasn't like great, but it wasn't bad. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
And
So-
we have to allow people to be better. Like if we just throw people away because one person or 10 people or whatever had a bad time or had a not a bad time, but had a problem of some kind, like if it's like an actual like abuse case or something like that, that's different.
That's different.
But if like you don't get along or something, or you heard something about them and you're not sure if it really happened or not, like that's not a reason to throw people away. And so how I approach adult is I work with anybody I'm booked with as long as they're not on my no list. And then if I have a bad time or whatever, then I'll handle it. Or if I see evidence of wrongdoing, then I'll put them on my no list. So
good evidence.
yeah,
Like you
like
mentioned before.
any actual like not he said she said evidence.
Right.
Yeah.
So we got a few questions
Sure.
from the audience. One person is complimenting your physique.
Oh, thank you.
I think it's just a general statement for both of you. Like Jill having just had a kid.
Oh, yeah.
a few months ago,
Working
and then like
on it.
Alex, last time we worked together, I was like, you've been working out.
Well, I
haven't
noticed
you?"
too when I was like editing the
because
video.
your
I was like,
boyfriend is in
oh.
like insane shape. Like he is. I've seen him on Twitter, I think, and I was like, I don't think he has an ounce of fat on his body.
He works hard.
Are you workout buddies? Is that
Not
Do you guys
yet.
work out together?
really?
Yeah, not yet. No, it's
That's
okay.
surprising.
So I changed up my diet because of him, so that's part of it. And I got sick a couple times right before I saw y'all, and I
Oh,
always
yeah.
lose weight when I get sick. I've told people. I even think I've made a Twitter post where I was like, "Sick looks good on me."
Yeah, I
was
got
like, "Look."
food poisoning and lost like 7 pounds. I'm like, damn, that's actually kind of nice.
Yeah, so it's like but it's mainly the diet change because I cut out. I was mainly subsisting on carbs and salt, as
Okay.
most females do.
Yeah.
Rightly so.
Yeah.
But now that I'm getting into my early 30s, I'm
Mhm.
going to eat a little bit healthier because I want to live forever.
Yeah,
So-
Yeah.
Granola is
difference.
It
granola is
does.
my Achilles heel. If I eat granola, I instantly get fat.
Really?
Yeah, it's because it's just all.
Well, I think
carbs.
it's portion control too for you.
What is a portion? It's a whole bag for a reason, Jill.
Those serving sizes are just suggestions.
Yeah, I know, right? Another question was, what is something that you enjoyed but didn't really think you would enjoy until you kind of tried it out because of camming or because of shooting scenes?
Femdom.
Ah.
So like I said, extreme sub. It was like punch me, daddy. Like it was like extreme sub. So I did anal every day for over a year for a guy multiple times a day, sometimes
your
3 times a
personal
day. And
life?
for the boyfriend that introduced me to camming.
Oh.
Wow.
That's why I was upset I didn't have a lot of free time. Because more anal. More free time, more anal.
He's a little greedy with that. Jeez,
Yeah.
I asked for butt sex maybe once a year.
And then he cheated on me, which is why we broke up.
Oh,
Oh.
no.
With his ex, who was the best friend of the one that did the camming that he had referenced, which was really funny.
Incestuous.
It was at a house party where we were both there.
Oh my God, and he snuck away.
Yeah, and my best friend comes into
Was
the
there
room.
booze involved?
For him, but not for her,
Oh.
which was extra great because she was engaged.
Oh my God.
They still got married.
That is juicy.
Okay, so here we're at this fucking house party where we
Uh-huh.
live, and and his best friend / my best friend comes into the room where I'm at, and she goes, "Hey, Alex, can I talk to you for a second?" And we go into the bathroom, and she's like, "I need you to sit down." And then she told me like, "Hey, so Max is in my bedroom with Kay, and I didn't want you to find out from anybody else." And she's like, "I walked in on them and they are getting dressed now."
Wow.
And so I was like, "In your bedroom?" And I walked downstairs and opened the door and they were putting their clothes on, and I was like, Hey, Max. Hey, Kay. So I just wanted to let you know that I went ahead and called Ben, which was her fiance.
Oh, yeah.
And left a voicemail letting him know what was going on. And I hope you had a really great time.
You're
You're so
calm.
diplomatic.
This is how I am when I'm angry. So I was very angry calm. And I was like, I hope you had a great time because we're never doing anything ever again. You can get all your shit out of my house. And see you later.
Props for you for handling it that way, because a lot
Right.
of people will like
Lose
listen. Well, they'll either lose it and end up beating a bitch up, or they'll like blame one of the people and not the other, or they'll take their partner back and just be like, it was just like a one-off.
Oh yeah, no,
How long ago was this?
This was I was 24, I think.
Okay.
24, 25.
So
So
this is a long time ago.
yeah, because we were only together for like a year and a month or something. And so after a year and a month, we had moved in together, had an apartment together, everything. We were talking about like the future, and I had paid off all of his medical debt, which was $8,000.
And you were having anal sex all the time.
every day,
You're such a good girlfriend.
right? I was desperate for love,
Aw.
and so.
But you probably learned so much from that relationship
Oh
and
my
about
God,
like
yeah.
yourself and what you want and what
Yeah.
you're willing to put up with and not.
Well, and then I was less strong because he was going to walk home and he was drunk. And I was like, let me just drive you to the apartment. And so then I
Okay.
drove him to the apartment and he was like talking about jumping off the roof. And I was like, well, that's not going to
Aw.
happen.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not going to kick you out. You can live here, but we're never kissing or holding hands or anything. We're friends now. And you're going to just help me around the house, I guess. And he
You're
lived with
roommates
me
now.
for years.
Really?
Years he lived with me.
Crazy.
And
Must
my
have
new
worked out, though.
boyfriend even.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wild,
And they ended up
Alex.
being buddies.
What?
I know, it was weird. And then he started dating my best friend who ended up being the girl who got mad at me about dating the guy and started posting all that weird shit about
oh
us.
my god.
So after he stole $2,000 to buy her presents
Oh
when
my-
when they moved out of when he moved out of my house.
So he
That's
didn't
all
really
very
change
juicy,
a whole
Alex.
lot.
No, he's the same. And they
Yeah.
recently broke up, I was told. And like I guess she put all this shit about him on Twitter where she was like, he's pathetic and he's so stupid and he never does anything right. And I was like,
Ouch.
fuck
See,
you. I was like, fuck you, bitch. Like
Yeah, that's
he's
kind-
actually like he's not completely like I was
Mhm.
gonna say he's actually a really nice guy. and I caught
Wow.
myself. This is
Okay.
look, he's like Jerry from Rick and Morty.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
So he's
Yeah.
like he's
He's just kind of
Jerry,
there.
but it's like, oh, you're
Yeah.
Jerry.
Head
Yeah.
pats.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like don't
He
be
doesn't
mean to
know what
Jerry.
he's doing all the
already
time.
being Jerry is enough punishment for Jerry.
Yeah.
You don't have to
Jerry
also
doesn't
be
even
mean
know
to him.
he's Jerry, though.
I think he knows.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He ended up paying back most of the money that he stole over
Oh.
time, but only recently he stopped paying me back because he was almost done. He had $1,500 left
Mhm.
Oh,
and disappeared. So I hope you're all right, Max.
wow.
Send me my $1,500.
Seriously, Max.
Yeah, Max, what the fuck?
but that's more than I thought I'd ever get. So anyway, hey, there you go.
Was that your first boyfriend and when you were in the industry? Okay, that's right, because he's the one
He's
that
the one that got
you
me into camming. Yeah.
Okay.
Can you talk to dating in the industry? Have you ever dated someone outside of the industry while you're in it? And I already know that you dated someone in it while you were in it also.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
So here's my relationship history. I dated one guy for 5 years, and that was my first boyfriend, first kiss, first anal, first everything.
oh my
And
God.
the anal was accidental, and I tried to make him continue, and he wouldn't continue.
I don't
my
even
God.
know what accidental anal is.
He was fucking me doggy, and it slipped and went in my ass, and I was like, "Don't stop!" And he was like, "No."
Can't say that's ever happened.
Well, you have a giant penis, Jack. He had a 4-inch penis, which is a lot easier for surprise anal.
Damn.
So,
Missing
but yeah,
out.
5-year relationship with the guy that I gave my first kiss to. So
That's
was
really
that
cute
was-
and wholesome.
It was, except it wasn't a good relationship to
Okay, yeah.
stay in. One time, we lived with 7 other people, and
Wow. A lot.
they included, and this was his house that he bought. This included his sister, who had a weird sexual attraction to him that she made very clear
Oh no.
very early
Wild.
on. Yeah,
Wild.
she asked me, "Are you a virgin?" Like the day I moved in, and I was like, yes. And because I was. And she's like, that's not going to work. My brother needs someone who can sexually please him, and you're not going to be enough.
I can't imagine my sister ever saying that to someone.
Isn't that insane? And she would model bikinis and shit for him. It was very weird. It was
she
very
older
weird.
or younger than him?
13 months younger, Irish twins.
Oh, okay. I think that has a
Okay.
lot to do with it because my sister's 5 years older than me, and
Yeah.
I was always just like her disgusting little brother who's an idiot.
I think they had a really rough childhood because dad was a drug addict and mom was a drug
Okay.
addict. And like,
Well, I had one of
Okay.
those too.
Same.
so
okay.
in the house, though, it was me and him, his mom, her new husband, his sister, his dad, who was homeless until he moved in with us, and then multiple roommates.
Wild.
Crazy.
And
you really
his-
experienced the family dynamic there.
His dad stole our roommate's computer, and he stole all my tip money from work. And that's when we put a lock on our bedroom
For
door.
drugs.
Yeah. And I was in this relationship for 5 years.
Oh.
But the living together part was just 3 years. So I guess there's that.
Okay.
3 years is still a long time.
It's too long.
Would you
But-
consider yourself still in the stage where like you were afraid to stand up for yourself?
Oh God, yeah. But
Yeah.
that was the first relationship where I did actually stand up for myself because we were actually in he just didn't. The problem I had was he could not defend me against his family, and they were awful to me. And that was our main problem.
Mhm.
And like couldn't get over that. And then also he didn't like sex very much. So he was like a once a month kind of guy.
Interesting.
And I'm a 3 times a day kind of person.
Oh.
But one time we were arguing about his sister in his car, and I'll never forget, we were yelling at each other, and it takes a lot for me to yell. And he goes like this, like he was going to hit me. And I said, do it. and he stopped, and I was like, you fall asleep first. And
I'm not even sure what that means, but it's terrifying.
because he fell asleep first every night, and I was reminding him. I was
Oh.
like, you better fucking hit me hard because you
Yeah.
fall asleep first, and I will kill you.
Yeah.
Like,
It's pretty easy
So-
to cut someone's dick off
But
when they're
that was-
sleeping.
But that was such a fucking moment because it was like he went to do it and it snapped, and I was just like, and that was
Yeah.
the first moment that I was like,
Oh, wow.
nope, not gonna do any of that. So
Crazy.
yeah, but dating in the industry, so that was the first relationship. Then the second one we already talked about. Then I met a crossover guy
Mm-hmm.
in the industry who worked
Dumb
for
question. What's crossover?
crossover is guys in the mainstream porn industry who work with men and women,
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
or with trans people.
Okay.
And
Okay.
so if you don't just work with like heterosexual scenes, then you would be
Uh-huh.
crossover. But generally only men are called crossover. Women are not called crossover because it's
Less of a big deal.
it's stupid old style stuff because everyone's tested and it's not, there's no risk of working with a crossover person. But it's a holdover from back when testing was every 30 days and there was a little bit more of a risk
Right.
of HIV transmission.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it's a homophobic holdover. But
Oh, certain demographics have different risk profiles. And I think 10 years ago, people got tested every 30 days, and now it's every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And some people,
and
it's
now the
even-
swabs.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
7-day swabs.
we got our
And
buttholes and our throats swabbed now.
the more we learn about health, the more our testing will have to adjust. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm proud of how it has adjusted. And crossover is not necessarily a bad term, but I think
a loaded
it is
one.
silly. I think it's silly. But a lot of people are perfectly comfortable saying like I'm a crossover talent.
Mhm.
Like, so it's not like derogatory or anything. But
Mhm.
but yeah, so he was crossover, and we actually shot my best video of all time together, which was my bisexual 3-way.
Oh, nice.
I called it bisexual 3-way madness.
With 2 men?
Two
Or-
men, and we
Okay.
all fucked each other. So it was, so it was like a crossover bisexual threesome. So it was
Wild.
it was Brock Avery, Mike Panic, and me, and that was
You
how
did the caterpillar thing with them.
I met my next boyfriend.
Oh my god.
Oh my God.
Mike Panic. So we dated
Crazy.
for 2 years and some odd months, and then we broke up because we had grown apart. But we were in an open relationship, so I had already started dating my next person.
Uh-huh.
And then after we broke up, he broke up with me, and he did it very sweetly, and he was like, "Hey, he had pushed me toward the other person, so I kind of felt like it was maybe coming. I didn't want it to. I was very upset. But he was like, hey, we want different things. You want a family and like commitment, and I'm not that kind of person, and like I'm never gonna be. And he was going through some stuff, and
That's very honest and mature of him to do.
Yeah.
Even though that's painful.
Just wait. And then 7
God.
days later, I came home from, I think, a scene, like a content scene. And I am walking upstairs to my bedroom, and I go to knock on the door, and I hear him on the phone. And he's talking to this girl, and he's like, I'm going to be out of here so soon. I'm going to be free of her, and we'll be together, and all this kind of shit.
Oh, man. And you're just sitting there with your ear to the door like this.
I was standing there like this, like an idiot, like with my hand about to knock, just listening. And I was like processing all of it at the same time. And I just went, hey, Mike. And nothing. And I go, you're free to go at any time. I am not keeping you here. If you want to wait till the morning, that's fine. I'm going to sleep out here tonight.
Oh, man.
And he was like, it's not what it sounds like. And I'm like, I don't want to talk about it. And I just went to the guest bedroom and I cried and I went to sleep. And then I kicked him out of my fucking house.
Yeah.
But it ended up being really weird because he would... I can really pick people. I don't think I've ever done this like where I've talked about all of it. I hope
I
we're not going
appreciate
too
you
far
being
off.
vulnerable. No.
I think the audience, there was someone, I wanted to repeat it because I don't want to interrupt you, but people are really enjoying your
They're,
Oh,
speak.
great.
you know, we appreciate you being vulnerable like this.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm just a big open book, so it's kind of like
and there's life
and the
lessons
guys already
in
know
here.
all of this. Like none of
Yeah.
this is anything that's a secret.
Yeah.
Of course,
And-
yeah.
Some people get shitty with me for talking to like my cam room about stuff, but I'm like, they've been here for me for years. What have you done? They're more my friends than you are.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, there'd been like 5 different women and trans women who he had like cheated on me with throughout our relationship.
Wow.
And
Did you figure that out afterwards?
I found out after that because I was like,
How'd you find out?
what the fuck is this? I started thinking about things that had happened in our relationship, and I connected some dots because there had been girls who I had been friendly with but not friends with
Yeah.
who would just fucking block me out of nowhere. And it would upset me because I'm very sensitive
Yeah.
and I'm very squishy inside.
Aw.
And so I'd be like, why did Lola block me? Do you know? You're friends with her. And he'd be like, I don't know. I'll talk to her for you. And then he'd come back and he'd be like, I don't know, babe. She didn't really want to talk about it. I don't know what you did to upset her so much. And then after that, I contacted her because she was the only one I could still contact. And she was like, that's not what happened. We were dating because... So he was dating them, but
Okay.
telling them that, hey, so Alex just doesn't really like talking about me dating other people, but she's totally fine with us dating. But like, just don't bother her with it. And then they would get very close. He'd get bored, and then he'd be like, "Hey, Alex isn't comfortable with us dating anymore. But don't bother.
Wow.
But don't talk to her about it. That'd be really dramatic. So like, let's just.
Scapegoat.
I have to go with what my partner wants, and I love her, and I have to do this for her. So then they would fucking block me. Like,
So he probably said this line many, many times to the point
Was she
where he
saying
may have like
few times?
believed.
I
in
have
some
no
lies.
idea, and we never got to talk about it because I found that out after he moved to like Utah.
Oh my god.
So-
oh, Utah, interesting.
Yeah, weird. Yeah, it's a choice.
Yeah.
It's very pretty.
yeah.
Yeah, but it was just like, okay. And then I stayed with Michael Masters, who was the person that I was already kind of seeing.
Okay.
But I dove headfirst into that relationship because I just felt so I couldn't trust my judgment anymore. Because like with Max, I could have probably figured that out. Like I could
Sure.
have probably seen that. But with Mike, I was like completely floored. Like especially after the way we broke up and everything, like it was so perfect and like adult and great. And I was like, we're gonna stay friends and all this shit. And I was like, I can't trust my judgment. I have no radar for this shit. I am bad at this.
It's very difficult to stay friends after you break up too.
Yeah,
It's
I mean,
borderline impossible in my experience, but
I mean, I'm still friends with Michael actually because
like friends or like
Like-
friendly terms, but we don't talk.
like now that I'm not single anymore, we don't hang out as much because it's a little bit boundary-y.
Right.
But before when I was single, we would have lunch like a couple times a month, like make sure to hang out and talk about stuff. He still gives me advice about finances and shit. Because that's my first healthy-ish relationship where I was like, I dove face first into this relationship with this guy that was very clear from the beginning. He was like, I don't want to marry you or have children. I had a vasectomy. Like he's 18 years older than me.
Okay.
And he was just like, I am not the person. But I was like, but I love you. And he's like, well, it's nice to be loved. So we did that for like 3 years. And then eventually it was like, this is never going to actually turn into what I really want, which is a lifetime partner. So I need to stop wasting my time. And he was like, that's what I've been trying to tell you. But also I'm really glad that we had this time together because you're my best friend. And I was like, this is very adult. This is great. This makes me feel better about my judgment.
Yeah.
So then I was single for like a year and I was trying to date. And that was the only time I didn't have overlap.
I was just gonna say that sounds like, how was that year for you? Because some people hate being single. Some people love being single. I personally, when I'm single, I'm in the gym, I'm reading books, I go for runs. I'm a different person when I'm single.
Yeah, because you have all that extra time. Yeah. Because you pour so much of yourself into your relationship, which is beautiful.
And I'm trying to look like a healthy, shiny bird, you know?
That's honest.
Not me in a relationship eating Cheez-Its and not giving a fuck anymore.
Hey, we ladies think that Cheez-It dust is delicious. So the next time you want a blowjob, just...
I've heard you've given up the Cheez-It dust.
You're right. I have to stay away from the cheese.
How was that year though? What did you like? What'd you do with it?
Okay.
Did you just like work your ass off, or?
So I'll break it down as quickly as I can. I know I eat. I read eating granola and I said I know I eat. I know I talk a lot.
I love it.
But so for that year at first, even though that breakup was like the best it could have been, I was so upset. I had a grieving period where I was like, well, I'm gonna be alone forever. And I'm going to get really cozy with my 3 cats. And you know what? That's fine. And I'll just put my energy into work and my friends. And I'll make friends because I don't really have any. And I'll like give them actual attention. But then I just spent like 2 months depressed in my house. And but after that mourning period where I kind of decided to just accept the possibility that I was going to be alone forever, then I felt so much better. Because the whole time my fear was that I was going to be alone forever because I've seen family members that are alone later in life and it freaked me the fuck out. And I was just like, I don't want to do that. I will do anything other than that. And I think that time between relationships finally, because it was 11 years of relationships with no break.
Wild. Yeah, that's a lot.
Because they all overlapped. Because with the 5-year, he ended up opening the relationship up at the very end because he didn't want to have sex with me. He wanted me to have sex with other people but not tell him. So I met Max through that on AshleyMadison.com. Like fucking yeah. I met 9 guys on AshleyMadison.com at the very end of that shitty relationship, and I hooked up with them, and I hooked up with him, and he kept talking to me after, and I was like, I don't want to talk to you. I have a boyfriend. But then we broke up, and I was like, do you still want to talk to me? And so we like started hanging out and seeing each other, and it was relatively instantaneous. So it was like that overlapped, and then the Max thing basically overlapped with Mike. And like there was a period of time where I was kind of dating both of them because Max really liked sharing me with other guys, but I didn't like meeting guys online anymore because I had some bad experiences. So I was like, I can't do this for you anymore, where I go on dates with guys I don't know. And so we met Mike on Twitter, and I shot content with him, and then Max was there for the whole shoot, so he saw us interacting, and he was like, you guys have good chemistry. And I was like, I like him. Yeah, he's great. And so then it was kind of like he was cool with dating me while I was dating somebody else. And like it was this weird thing where like Max didn't really give me a whole lot of like emotional reward, but Mike did. And so I was like, okay, I can do this. And then Max like almost immediately like slept with his ex at that party, which he could have slept with literally anyone else. And I would have been completely fine with it. Because we were open at that point in time. So I was like, literally the only 2 people in this world I didn't want you to sleep with were your 2 exes who were mean to me.
Yeah.
And you fucked one of them.
Of course.
So, but yeah. But anyway, for that year, then after I got through the mourning period, I did feel a lot better. And I just kind of just started relearning what I enjoy to do by myself. And I spent a lot of time at home.
Oh, that's so important.
I spent more time taking care of myself and cleaning and sleeping. And I got more used to doing what I want to do because I hadn't really had any alone time anywhere. So it's really scary being in a house by yourself at night.
Yes.
For a very long time, for months, I slept with all the lights on because I didn't want to be sleeping in a house by myself. So, or I would call friends and be like, do you want to come over and sleep over? And nobody wanted it. It was like, okay. It's
Jill is also a serial monogamist.
I am. I am.
Just
my stories
jump
are
from one to the other.
We all have our dating stories, but yeah, I had a bunch where it was just one relationship literally, developed into another until
I've had a few of those too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And definitely was like seeking out what I needed at the time or thought I needed, but wasn't necessarily healthy.
Yeah.
And I, did it for a while.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I think we all have like our figure it out period because nobody really teaches you any of this, which is I think we're gonna do a better job teaching our kids about shit.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So, and I think every generation moving forward will probably do the same, where they'll know stuff we didn't know, and they'll know stuff they didn't know. But
how do you feel about open relationships? I know everyone's different, and so you can't speak for other people, but for you personally, do you think open relationships are healthy, or do you think they're probably not healthy?
I feel like they could have been.
They could have been.
But I feel like the way that they were done with me was wrong from the beginning, because
it was like an excuse for
my very first relationship. It was an excuse for him not to have sex with me.
Yeah.
And he made me feel really shameful about sex before that. Like I bought my very first lingerie for him because first everything. And we went to Disneyland and we were in the hotel getting ready, and I went in the bathroom and I changed because I wanted to show it to him. I was so excited. I didn't want to wait for us to go to the park. I wanted to show it to him and then take it off and go to the park. And so I come out in it, and we didn't go to the park because I came out looking like a whore. And he didn't even want to touch me for the next 3 hours.
Oh.
So we sat on opposite sides of the bed while I tried to talk to him for 3 hours.
That's wild to me, given... Yeah.
So, I was a very different person back then, too. So I was very like, I'm so sorry.
Yeah. Instead of being like, this is me. Like,
No.
I'm not a whore just because I'm doing something.
You couldn't even see anything. It was a baby doll with a covered cup, like a bra, and then a real panty. So it was more than
it was like a
bathing
90
suit. It was more than a bathing suit would have been. But so I went from doing an open relationship with him where he was like, I don't want to have sex with you, but I don't want you to bother me with this anymore. So go fuck other people and do not tell me about it.
There's great irony in there.
Yeah.
It's...
And then we wanted to get married, and I was like, does that mean you'll have sex with me? And he was like, no, I love how things are now. And I was like, do you want me to continue having sex with other people whenever and he was like, I don't even want to know if you're doing that now. And he's like, and absolutely not. If we're married, you cannot have sex with anybody but me. And I'm like, but you're not gonna fuck me anymore. And he's like, no. And I was like, so this is like my get it out of my system moment. But that's when I realized, when he was like, no, I like things how things are. I was like, I've been compromising for 5 years, and you've never compromised on anything, and I'm done. And so I was like, I don't think this is gonna work out.
That's healthy.
And
time to move on.
Well, and he was like, all right, get out of my house.
Oh.
And so then he went to Italy for 2 weeks for a work thing and came back, and I had packed all my shit because I was like, okay, let me get out. And he was like, what are you doing? And he put all my shit in the spare room and was like, no, we're going to work this out. And I was like, I decided we're not while you were in Italy. So I'm going to get a job.
And a lot of people would have tried to make it work and stayed with them.
And he hadn't wanted me to work either. So I had been working at this gas station because I got away with that. And I was like, also, I have full time at the gas station now, and I'm moving to an apartment by the college. Bye. And so then I moved out of that apartment into the Max house.
Wow.
But yeah, I'm very glad that I had that year off to focus on myself and kind of recalibrate my brain.
For sure.
Because I feel like I had been in desperation mode for 11 years with little bouts of like happiness. I mean, it wasn't all bad. Like it wasn't.
Yeah.
It never is. There were plenty of sunshiny moments and beautiful things.
Right.
But that doesn't make up for any of the not good. And it's just hard when you're in it to see all of it.
Yeah,
and so,
definitely.
And if you have no life experience to base something on, it's hard to know what's normal.
Yeah.
You know, especially if, and I'm not speaking for your childhood, if you saw your parents having unhealthy relationships growing up, which was a lot of my case. My first relationship I stayed in for years, way longer than I should have, was toxic as fuck.
Oh, yeah.
So a lot of it's just like, you don't know any better until you do.
Yeah.
And a lot of that's like hands-on learning.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad I had that time period to like recalibrate my brain, because then I got this email from this guy.
I have heard this part,
and
which I think is adorable that he wrote you an email.
It's so cute.
Yeah, because it's something I would do. Like when I asked Jill out, I was considering doing the same thing because I get so nervous. I remember going to tap her on the shoulder and my hand was like shaking.
I felt his hand shaking.
Oh, how?
I did.
Oh my.
I did.
Oh,
it was really
But anyway,
cute.
you got an email.
I was really
we
turned on
love
by
that
it.
shit.
You were turned on by it?
Yes, I like that.
By my nervousness?
Yes.
Yes, because it's like, it shows that you are like a humble person, that you care what people think. Like,
Well,
that's
some women are really turned on by like assertive and very confident
And
men.
it shows how much you care about her that you were that nervous.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah,
means
yeah,
that
it's
matters to you.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
if you were
That
like,
makes a good
well, you want to go out?
Yeah.
Like that'd be like, no, I don't.
Yeah, exactly.
Get away from me.
I took her out to sushi and then locked my keys in the car.
Perfect. We love that shit. We will marry the guy from like Modern Family forever.
Yeah.
Okay? That's what women truly want. None of this alpha male shit. We just want the dad from Modern Family. But
you got an email.
Yeah,
and it was presumably it was a very cute email.
So the first email was business, because it was him asking to like work together, and I was like, oh, this is the most professional can we collab booking email I've ever gotten.
Nice.
Whatever this guy looks like, I'll figure something out. I'll do it, because he was like, if you want to see pictures, I have my Twitter, here you go. And I was like, you got your shit together, we'll do something. And I clicked it and I was like, oh my god, am I being catfished?
Because he's sexy.
And I really thought I was being catfished. And I was like, Danny Steele, huh? And so I talked to him, and I ended up, he flew out in September that year, and we shot at my ex-boyfriend's house because I stole his massage scene idea, where he'll do oil massage scene on a blow-up mattress flipped over upside down, because it's got that rim on it to catch the oil, and it's kind of slidey and almost like waterbeddy feeling.
Yeah.
It's really fun. And so I was like, I don't know how to set the lights up for this yet. Can you set the lights up for it? And I'll write down what you do, and then next time you won't have to do it. And he was like, I'll set the lights up for you anytime. It's all good. Plus, I don't want you doing this at your house. And I was like, fair, because
Points were awarded.
He's a grown 40-something man and has guns. So it's like, let's do it at the good house for this, not your house. And think of the cats. And so and so he comes, we shoot it, and then great chemistry. After the scene, we get in the shower. We're in there for another hour and not filming it. And then he leaves. And like I had like taken him to get food and stuff like that so we could get to know each other, and I couldn't get a read on him. And so he leaves, and I'm like, oh, well, that was awesome. And I'm getting
so you
ready
like felt the chemistry. It was like palpable.
But
well, obviously an hour off.
I felt my side of it for sure, and I couldn't tell. Like I was like I didn't even cross my mind really that he would like me back like romantically, because he's so
like
attractive.
A stoic dude?
He when he's nervous, he's quiet.
Okay,
So I thought he was very mysterious and stoic.
But really, he was just
He's-
nervous. He was trying to keep his cool around Alex.
He was like, well, I had to be cool around you.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, you didn't. And so he leaves, and my ex looks directly at me and he goes, I'll give it a year. And I was like, excuse me? And he's like, I saw how he looked at you. I'll give it a fucking year. And he was like, congratulations.
Oh.
And I was like, you're an idiot. Don't fuck with me like that. That's not happening. And I didn't think he liked me. And he kept texting me though. And I was like, okay, you're staying in contact. That's interesting. And then I went to Florida where he was living for a shoot. And I was like, hey, I will save $400 on a rental car if you pick me up from the Fort Lauderdale airport and drop me off at the Enterprise that's right around the corner. I will pay you. Please do this for me. And he was like, say less. And so he picks me up at the airport. And I was kind of nervous because I was thinking about what Michael had said. And I was like, he doesn't fucking like you. Don't be weird. And so then I get in the car. And the first thing he does, I go, hey. And the first thing he does is like pull me in for a kiss. Aww. And I was like, wow. I was like, this is awesome. And then my brain was like, he probably just thinks you're easy. Just stop. And so
because this is all your like past relationships, like baggage, like whispering in your ear.
That's honestly, I think we would have zero problems if I didn't have baggage. Because every now and then I'll say something and he'll be like, where did that come from? And I'll be like, that's not how you feel? And no, come to me here. But yeah, so we hung out while I was in Florida, and then I came back to Vegas. We started really hanging out and talking, and I spent the night over at his place a bunch, and like, then he wrote me another email, and that's the one you're thinking of.
Okay,
and
that's the one you mentioned.
Yeah, and it was formatted with the same language, but with a few words changed, where it was like, it was basically the same, like wanting to work with me, but instead of wanting to work with me, it was like, I'd like to be your boyfriend, and you know, I have this many. Cute. I have this many scenes under my belt. I have this because it was the same like thing. I have.
It was like a resume.
It's so good.
That's a guy that really cares, though.
It was so perfect, and he had overthought it because he. So okay, actually, what's extra funny is I didn't get the email for a week.
Oh man, so, and he spent a week thinking that you were like
sweating.
He was sweating, and he was getting frustrated with me, and I'm like, why are you so grumpy? And he's like, just check your freaking email. Like, he even had a friend of ours like message me like, hey, I sent you an email, can you check? And she didn't, and so I was checking through all my email, and I was like, I don't see anything from you. And she's like, oh, did you see it from Danny? I think I sent it on his phone. And I was like, no, I don't have any emails from him. And finally, we talked, and I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. If you sent me something, just resend it. And he resent it. And I called him crying, and I was like, yes, I'll be your girlfriend. And,
so cute.
Yeah, and then when he said I love you for the first time, it was like in it was like in the car right when we got home from the airport. One of the times I went to pick him up when he was coming to visit. And I like cried, and we hugged, and like it was very emotional. And then he was like, I almost wrote another email, but I thought that would be repetitive.
Yeah, bro, at a certain point, you have to say it to the face.
He was like, I didn't know how to tell you, but I've been feeling this way for a minute. And like, I was thinking about writing another email, but I didn't know if that was really the right move. And and I was like,
good idea,
I think this was the best move. He's like, I just couldn't keep it to myself anymore, so I had to tell you. And he was so shy when he told me, and I hope you don't mind me telling people all.
I think it's fucking adorable, and you shouldn't care, dude.
But yeah, you know, I have pictures, and he was wearing this hat, so now it's our favorite hat.
Oh,
so I have pictures in our photo album of like, this is what our faces look like right after he said I love you for the first time.
How sweet. And now you guys want
babies
together.
I know.
You are good at taking photos.
It's a good photo. We look great. We look so happy, like deliriously happy. And he's been talking. He's the first partner that's ever planned a future with me seriously. Like other people, I guess, were just more like, yeah, sure, we'll probably do
going
that.
through the motions.
Yeah, and kind of just going with whatever I said. Like, yeah, we'll probably do that. Like, no real commitment of any kind. Like, the most I got was with that 5-year relationship. I got a necklace on the 5th year.
Aww.
And it was like I'll marry you someday necklace. And it was like,
I think it's like his actions, though, right?
Yeah.
Like, he seems very considerate of you.
Exactly. I don't care about the fucking necklace. Like, that's what made it even worse. Is I was like, I don't even care about a ring, much less a necklace.
Sure.
Like, I want a life partner. That's all I want. And he's the same way. And so even very early on, we were like, oh, this could be our wedding song. Or like, or like, oh, well, we'll tell our kids this. Or, well, when we do Christmas with our kids, and it's a little weird that we jumped into that so quickly, but not really, because it just works. Like,
I was gonna say it feels natural for you guys.
It just happens. Like it's just like he was talking about. Oh, well, do you think we should do like a joint bachelorette party? Because I really want you to be there. Like, and I'm just like, this is awesome.
And you guys both work in the industry, so does that cause any friction?
Yeah.
You would think, but
Because it's caused friction for Jill and I in the past.
Yeah.
Just being honest.
yeah, and
We've had our like bumps in the road and
You can
things
call them
we
fights.
I feel like
yeah.
I feel like there's always going to be something because we're
Yeah.
people and
Yeah.
we're human. And I've definitely had jealousy and issues
Mhm.
after all the cheating,
Yeah.
especially with other partners. The nice thing about Danny is he doesn't really give me a reason.
Right.
So because
Right.
he's a very monogamous person,
right.
and I am at heart also,
yeah.
and so I think it works really well. But especially in the very beginning, not him being newer to the industry, I think he
Mhm.
didn't see like when people were being shitty sometimes, which I think is the main thing that
Mhm.
causes issues. Is
Yes.
like
Yeah.
when a girl is flirtatious or
Mhm.
shitty or says like snide comments to the girl and the guy doesn't notice or
Mhm.
doesn't catch it.
Mhm.
Because girl mean is very different than guy mean. Guy mean's easy. Guys punch each other.
aggressive.
It's so clear.
We punch each other and then we hug. It's weird.
Yeah, no, that's how
Yeah.
I would prefer it. I really
Yeah.
hate girl
Girls,
mean.
it's like passive aggressive psychological warfare.
Yes.
A guy is like, I'm gonna beat your face in and then we're gonna get tacos. And
Yeah,
a girl
yeah.
is like, you wore the same color as me
yeah.
that one time 5 years ago.
I never told you I hated you for it.
And
but
so I got to be your very best friend and I learned all your secrets. Now I'm going to post them all with your address on Twitter. And then I'm going to set your house on fire.
Oh my God.
Like,
yeah,
it's
women
like-
are crazy. Yeah.
I feel like I feel like
There's the
not-
joke at that if like women would all stick together or like
could
they
do
could
anything.
topple the patriarchy,
Yes.
yeah.
I agree with that.
But
I
they
would say
can't.
not being hyperbolic. I feel like women are very good at smiling while being mean.
Uh-huh.
I think
Yes.
that's the thing.
Yes.
I'm a
And-
southerner, so I'm decent at it too.
See, Southerners get it. Like I feel like the mean that hits me the most is when you're smiling at me when you're
Yeah.
being mean because you're
Yeah.
enjoying being mean to me, and I know it. And
Mhm.
I think that's where the issues come in because I've had girls before in other relationships, and I've had one try in this relationship to be like, oh yeah, you're in a relationship, you have a boyfriend, that's cute. I'm gonna just make you feel real insecure about that for no reason.
Mhm.
Like, because I have to
Mhm.
show that he's dating you, but if I let him date me, he'd leave you in a second. Like, that's
Wow.
the vibe.
Mm-hmm.
And she came up to me at the XRCO Awards a couple years ago and was like, oh, isn't it so sweet that we're like sharing a boy toy? And I was like, what? we had started dating 11 days ago.
Oh.
And I was telling everybody at the party I was very excited. And I was like, I don't think of him as a boy toy. And she's like, oh, well, I do. And she's like, anyway,
Yikes.
bye. And like walked off all happy. And literally I had another girl next to me and she's like, are you okay? And all I heard was, so, I mean, it's, and then there's the personal insecurity because I've been cheated on before. So it's like, I've had partners that have compared me to other people. Like, so I hear those kinds of things in my head and that has nothing to do with him.
Yeah.
Nothing. But whenever it's like, I'm on Instagram and I see like he liked some girl's photos that looks completely different than me, I'm like, would you like me better if I look like that? Because I don't think I can look like that. Like it's, there's little things like that.
I understand that.
I think most of
Yeah.
it is from me, from my brain, which
Yeah.
which is new to me because it's always been very justified before.
Sure.
And so this is now a learning process where I have to go, I need to not punish him for all the shit that happened before
Yes.
because he didn't do any of that.
right.
And I need to give him the benefit of the doubt until, and that's scary
Mhm.
because you've done it before and been wrong. But it's like, you have to every time or else you're not really giving it a chance.
Yeah.
So I think if I can just keep that in mind, I
Mhm.
think everything will be fine.
Yeah, I think
But-
like you're really good at boundaries, and I think for me, like someone
Mhm.
that's been with someone for a while, doing like making it work with this, like for me, as long as he follows the rules that we discussed,
You guys hear that? As long as I follow
then
the rules.
there's really no reason for me to be upset. And if I'm having a problem with someone, that's probably because I'm having an issue with myself and that person, unless that person is behaving in a way that I will notice like it's
Mhm.
off, or like they have a chip on their shoulder and
Yeah.
they're just a person that's not very happy.
Yeah.
So
That's
they're
a lot of
gonna,
it.
I feel like that's usually when I end up having a problem with someone. It's like, oh, I understand why now once I think about
Yeah.
it. And like most of the time he doesn't give me a reason to be like, hey, Like,
Yeah.
that wasn't okay.
Yeah. And everybody
So,
fucks up. Like,
yeah.
I've done stuff and he's
Oh,
done
yeah.
stuff where it's like, oh, shit, you're right. Like,
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
damn it. Yeah,
Mhm.
you're right.
Mhm.
But yeah, it happens. And
I mean, we work in like it's a difficult thing.
it's that
to
gray
navigate.
fucking area. We
Yeah.
are not in an office building. This is not the normal reality that we grew up in or that everyone else is familiar with. Like, this is a weird place where weird things happen, and they're great a lot of the time. But sometimes it's hard to navigate because it's not where everything is generally at.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, I've struggled with jealousy, but I think I'm getting a lot better. And I started therapy more recently. So I think that's helping a lot.
Yeah. And you're like, even though you guys aren't like, been married for all this time, like you're wifey. You know what I mean? Like I always think to myself, like I'm his wife. Like that's a very special position that I get to have. That's like very different, because we work with, you're beautiful. We've worked with so many beautiful young women, but I'm like, wait, I'm his wife. Like we have this very special thing that like people can't replicate.
Yeah.
Like no matter how many times they've had a great scene with that person, like like they can have great chemistry, but like what you have
Sexual
between
chemistry
the two
is
of
different.
You
can
can't
have
replicate what you have.
You can have sexual
what I mean?
chemistry with someone and
absolutely.
not have chemistry in other aspects of your life.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
and I think one thing that helps me a lot is when like when he comes home from a scene and he's like, oh, it's such a long day. I'm so glad to be home. I wish I'd been here with you. So I think I just need a lot of reassurance. And I think that helps a lot. And I had something else. It disappeared.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It is truly fascinating to hear, the ups and downs of dating while being in the industry, because you do have a tendency to meet certain types of people. This industry does seem to attract certain types of people. And there are certain types of people that enjoy dating women who do shoot porn. And it's all very fascinating.
Yeah.
Especially since you're being so honest and vulnerable, which we like greatly appreciate.
Thank you. And I actually remembered it was a throwback to if I think non-monogamous relationships are healthy for me. Because you asked that earlier. I think they could be, but I think I'm much happier in a monogamous relationship because it is that thing where it's like, no matter what happens during the day, I'm your partner. Like because we're not married yet, but
you want to be though.
Yeah, I do. I do. And
it's not a secret.
And it's not the ring or the ceremony, it's the commitment. And it's like, I even told him, I was like, get me a cubic zirconia ring or I will kill you because we do not need to put money into something I'm going to lose.
Spend it on a vacay.
Get it on Etsy, okay? Just whatever. Just put something. And then like just that commitment. But he has been very good about reassuring me. Like you were saying, you're wifey. Like he's like, you're the person I live with. You're the person who's given me my cats. Like it's like
no one can replicate like those experiences.
That's such a close thing, and it's such a new thing for me to learn because my other partners didn't value that. And that wasn't because they were non-monogamous necessarily, but I think it's a lot easier for me to go, you mean what you're saying when I'm your only partner. Yeah, especially after being hurt so much. So it's I think that was the thing I missed that I wanted to say.
Cajun, I just have to mention because Cajun said it a few times, he's giving you mad props for how you handle yourself and your wisdom that you've gained and how much you've grown, from the beginning of your story to like up to now.
Thank you. I think I think it's just learning over time through trauma, and it's not, I wouldn't necessarily wish it on anybody because I had a bad time growing up too. So it was like, nothing I've dealt with. I think my childhood prepared me for anything in real life because I don't think I can encounter anything in my adult life that would rival my childhood. So like, as far as everything goes, like my childhood kind of prepped me where it's like, you can survive anything. And so
humans are very adaptable.
Yeah, I think I've taken that and I've studied human psychology because it's fascinating to me, which helps me understand why people do what they do, which helps me understand why different things happen to people. And I think that's helped me a lot. And then I'm big into stoicism. I think that has helped me a lot. It's replaced religion in my life completely. because I was religious from like 14 to 21 and then not anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I think having things like that to like fall back on, I think that helps like build you up and make you think about these things. I took ethics classes that I didn't have to take. Like, just if you want to know more about this stuff and like how to handle these things, I think just study it. And I still fuck up all the time. So all the time. So you're never going to be perfect. But thank you.
Most of us learn that stuff, on the fly.
Marcus Aurelius. Thank you, Ace.
Changing gears. I have a couple difficult questions.
I'm ready.
Would you recommend to the average person joining this industry?
No.
The average woman? Yeah.
No. I think you shouldn't do this unless you really, really fucking want to do it. This should not be how to make money in the summertime. Like, this is a lifetime thing. That's why I studied it before I got into it, because I was 23 years old and I was like, if I'm going to ruin my life for this chance, I'd better make it a good fucking chance. Like, because I had no guarantee anybody would want to watch me, and no one does. And this is not an easy job. If you can't self-manage, you can't do this, because this is the hardest job I've ever done, because I'm in charge of everything and there is no one telling me what to do. And
she's my boss.
Understand that.
Yeah,
like,
I can't self-manage, and she manages for both of us. So you wouldn't recommend it?
No, not unless this is something that you really want to do. And I think even then, even if you really want to do it more than anything else, if you're not okay with everybody in your life finding out and being not okay with it, then you can't do it, because you don't know how people are going to react. Like, there's a lot of things to think about before you do this. I studied for like 2 months. I should have studied for a lot longer. Like, I think that before you do any kind of sexy work, you really have to think about everything. And if you ever want to talk about anything, or if you have any questions, my DMs are open. Just talk to me, because I've been there, and it's I started in 2015. It's going on. It's like over 8 years now. So it's like if you have anything you want to talk about or whatever, like, don't just dive into this. Like, don't just sign with the first agent you talk to. Like, please, please, please look into everything. And I don't recommend it to most people, because if you don't love this, you're gonna hate this. It's not gonna take a lot of time.
Yeah, and you really said something that resonates with me. Don't do it unless you are okay with everyone finding out.
Yeah.
Because the internet's forever.
Yeah.
You know, someday I'm going to have a really uncomfortable conversation with my children.
Yeah.
Likely, very likely.
Yeah.
And, I get asked a lot by people who watch us, because they've been with us, been doing this for years too. And a lot of people that watch us have been with us for 6, 7, 8 years, and they often ask me, like, what are you gonna say to your kids? And I'm nothing for as long as possible,
Right.
Until they've made up their own mind about what they want to do in their life. I don't want to tell my 14-year-old kid that I did sex work and that it's great and you should do it too. Like, I want them to find their own passions and develop their own hobbies and make up their own mind about what they want to do, and then kind of gently guide them along the way. Because, my mom was like, do whatever makes you happy. And my dad was like, get a job at a corporation and work there for 60 years and get a pension. That's like what I was told, you know, and I kind of done both.
I think that's really special that you like want to make sure that you're not like, because I think some people fall into the trap of justifying their own actions to their kids, where they're like, oh yeah, everything about it was great, when it was not great. Yeah. You just want it to seem great. Yeah. You can't do that. So I think,
which a lot of people do
really
with sex work. Every documentary I see about sex work is either like decrying how awful it is or talking about how fucking amazing it is. And I'm like,
it's glamorized for sure. Yeah. I mean, in many ways.
Yeah.
Well, most of the people doing the glamorizing are the ones like Scrooge McDuck swimming in money.
Yeah.
And I mean, that does happen, but for a very small percentage of people. Like, I had a friend the other day think that I made at least 5 times more than I actually make. And I had to break it to her.
Cute.
I was like, baby, no. I don't make no. She's like, really? But you're Alex Cole. And I was like, nobody cares. Like, sorry, but thank you. But I think whenever, because I've been thinking about this a lot too, thinking about kids, because I had mourned my future family and my life partner, and taken that time to be like, I'm going to be alone with cats forever. So I didn't have to think about that anymore. And now I have Danny, and he fucked all that up. And
so now I have to do some serious thinking now.
Now I have to have the future I wanted and prepare for that. So I have to think about stuff like that. And I think it's the same. Like we keep them kids for as long as possible.
That's how I agree too.
Like,
you know, when
definitely.
you discover sex as a kid, it changes everything. Like I remember when I was 15, I was a late bloomer and I masturbated for the first time when I was 15. I know that's kind of weird to talk about, but
no, that's not weird.
It changed my life. You know, I was obsessed with Pokemon and Dragon Ball Z right up to that moment, and that fundamentally changed me. And I think there's this like blissful innocence that people get to have when they're young, and they're curious about the world in different ways, and they're not kind of blinded by sexuality and whatnot. I think it needs to be preserved as long as possible, because a lot of people, especially with the internet, and you know, we all know what gets people's attention now is, you know, relationships, sex, and murder.
Sex, money, murder.
Yeah, so it's like the plot of every book and TV show. And a lot of people's like innocence are kind of being taken from them when they're, you know, 8, 9, 10 years old. That's
why. Okay, so I didn't watch porn until I was 17, and I was in college, and I had my own fucking laptop, and I could actually do that because the dial-up was not going to cut it.
Oh, I waited for the pictures to load.
See, I was too scared of getting caught because it was so easy for mom to just poke her head through, and you wouldn't even hear her coming. So she is smart. She's a smart lady.
I would get on LimeWire and download a bunch of stuff.
Me too. Cause
see, I didn't do any of that.
And then I would jerk off and feel guilty, and then delete it all. And then like 2 days later, when I wanted to, I'd be like, "Damn it, why did I delete all that?"
I never got to watch a full film. I would never download the whole thing in time. My parents would get home, and I'd be like, "God damn it."
See, I was watching like a lot of kink.com scenes on like Pornhub and Xvideos. Xvideos was my jam, and I would watch.
That's a place to start, Alex.
I know.
Kink videos.
Bound Gangbangs was my favorite.
Oh my god, I was just looking at classy titty pics.
And nasty hentai with tentacles and stuff. So Struggle was my number one search term. but you know, everybody copes with things different ways. And honestly, when I was in like college and stuff, when I was exploring all that stuff, I had my laptop. So I ended up my first sexual experiences that I instigated were on like cybersexchat.com, where I would talk to people on literally cybersexchat.com, and we would do role plays.
Wow.
And just role play with random people in this chat room, like just typing away. And I think that's how I got so good at dirty talk.
Yeah.
Because I practiced for years on that chat.
I'm still trash at it.
Me too.
They recognized me when I came in that chat because I always had the same username. And I was like the little one, 885 or something like that. Like it was something like, but it was always the same. And so I was like, I was always there. And I finally, like, I worked through it. But first it got worse. So I went from there to like calling people. I would star 69 people from the chat and phone sex with them.
Oh.
And
I never had the balls to phone sex with people.
Yeah. No, I was 17 in the bathroom. Just
you took off quick then.
I had a lot of
You're like
thoughts.
a late bloomer, but at the same time, just ran with it.
I had a lot of shit to work through and to figure out. And it was just like, this is something I can control, and I'm in charge, and I can do this, and this is working. But then I worked through it, and I didn't want to do that anymore. So I turned it all off and never did it again. And then I went to Gaia Online, which was a website where people would do role plays, but normally they were like normal role plays, but I found all the sex role plays on Gaia. And so I had a little avatar, and like we'd go on there and we'd type to each other and do whole stories, paragraphs and paragraphs.
But they were typed. Okay, it's a little easier to type dirty talk than it is to say it out loud.
I'm just saying, like,
but I wish keep it going.
I wish I could find these because some of these were so involved. They would have hundreds of like web pages for one role play.
Wow,
like
crazy.
And I would write 6 paragraphs, full paragraphs for a thing, and it's like the whole story and how it's happening, and then you'd post it. and that would give the next person enough information to put their part of the story in, and then the next person. And so we built this huge world with all these characters.
Wow.
And then people would try to like circumvent each other's willpower and be like, oh, well, then this happens. And then we'd have to go into a different chat where we were like, you're going to have to delete that post because that's taking away her character's willpower and that's not allowed. And by the way, you missed so-and-so's post like 6 pages back where he said that he's wearing a red sweater now, not a green one. So you're going to have to fix that too.
Definitely killed my bone when you got that detail wrong.
So that's where I got my
I'm gonna start getting Chat
Start.
GPT to do my dirty talk.
I've been thinking about all that
Will
stuff.
it do that, you think? Extra, like,
Yes.
sexy things?
Yes.
Hey, baby, jailbroken AI will do whatever the fuck you want.
I literally saw a director the other day post a photo that looked great. And it was like, AI edited this photo to make it look as good as possible. And it took no time. And I'm just
Crazy.
like, this is the future and I need to learn it or I'm going to get left behind.
Yeah, I've got a couple questions related to that, I guess.
I don't know shit yet.
You know, well, I think it's pretty easy to see where it's all going. So AI can create nearly perfect images of whatever you would like, whatever you prompt it to. It's still making a few mistakes with the fingers and the hair and like arms if they're wrapped around people, but by and large, a cursory look, it almost looks completely real. And it's conceivable that if you can make pictures, that you can make film, because film is essentially 30 pictures or however many frames per second you're doing sequentially run. So I think within the next few years, you're going to see AI porn widely available of anyone you want.
Yeah, I have been hearing about that with the deep fakes and the...
Yeah, which they will stitch someone's face onto someone else's body right now.
Right now.
But I mean complete
a
synthesis.
full composite,
Yeah, like if you want to see Scarlett Johansson's butthole in action,
and
all you need is a photo of it.
Yeah.
And then bam, AI will take care of the rest.
Yeah. Any leaked nudes or anything like that. Anybody who appears in video, they're already doing it like with joke things with like voices, like Trump and Biden is really popular on TikTok, making them say whatever you want. And it's what it's going to mean is my sanctity of B-roll is in danger, is what it means to me.
Already in danger. All I need is 30 seconds of you talking.
I know.
And I can get Alex to say all kinds of things.
So that's the shitty thing is like we have this tool that we could use to like do good and to keep people,
and it will be used to do good.
Yeah,
but it will also...
I just mean even B-roll as a tool. B-roll, it could keep people safe. It's very simple. It's very easy to do, and now it's not going to be as valid moving forward. It's not
bulletproof
even within
anymore.
a year. Even within a year, it won't be very valid anymore because anybody could say, "Well, that's not a real video of me."
Or they could just claim it's not real, and that will cast enough doubt.
Yeah, which is unfortunate. So I would like to figure out a way to combat that. I'm sure there's ways for. Well, I'm sure there's like people can tell when photos have been edited. So I know that when I know that hacking goes both ways, right?
Does, yeah.
So whenever you know,
there will be ways to detect when something's real and not.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that, and I think too. Have you guys been asked like, oh, what do you? I'm sure you haven't, but it's like, oh, what are you gonna do when all the AI is out? Because then we won't have to pay you guys anymore. And it's like, people don't pay me because of what I look like.
Yeah.
People pay me for the personality, which it's very confusing to me as well. But
I hope you're enjoying that, Alex. They just pay me for what goes on waist down.
You were born with a moneymaker attached to you, and I will not feel bad for you for this. I will feel bad for you for the up downs. That's not
AI.
fair. But
I've got another hard question for you. Internet porn in its current state, overall a good thing for society or a bad thing for society?
Overall, I think that we would be better off if we put porn behind a paywall. I don't think we need any tube sites. Don't get mad at me for taking away your free porn.
Sorry. I feel the same way.
There needs to be some kind of verification that you are 18 years or older to watch porn.
Yeah.
We can't just be, I mean, I think we learned a lot from the Pornhub situation where they were letting people upload willy-nilly and it worked for a long time, and then people started finding all that bad shit, and it's like, if you just let anybody upload, there's going to be a problem, and if you just let anybody access, there's going to be a problem, because there's always going to be workarounds, but we need to do everything we can to try to do the right thing. And it's just like, I'm not really posting anything crazy on Instagram because I don't want anybody that shouldn't see it to see it. And I don't really want to put my porn out there for free because I don't really want any kids to see it. I don't like that. That's not a cool idea for me. I actually had a big fight with a fucking director one time back in 2019 because we were shooting an outdoor scene and there were kids around. And I was like,
it's a big no-no. It's a crime.
Yeah, it is. And I was like, I'm not doing that while those kids are there. I'm waiting for them to leave. And he was like, but wouldn't it be so cool if you were like their first sexual experience? And I went insane. I think my brain broke.
Yeah.
We were sitting at a table and I went over the table and I got right in his face and I was like, if you ever say anything like that to me, I will punch you right in the face. I was like, I will hurt you. Like, I will leave right now. I will pay a kill fee. Like, we will not continue this shoot. You need to take that back right now. And he had Asperger's. I felt very bad.
So you could just say whatever. Part of it's an excuse and part of it's an actual thing.
I've gotten to know him better, and he didn't mean it in a bad way. But with my own triggers and stuff, I was just like, you can't say that.
But to be honest, Asperger's or not, you say what you say.
Yeah,
and people have Tourette's, and it's all about navigating.
And he did apologize, and I did almost leave, and I called my agent, and I had her talk to him because I didn't want to talk to him. But it was like, I don't know if you guys saw the Asa Akira thing. Did you guys see that?
Yeah,
the video?
I did.
It's my understanding that was said in 2012, and that it recently has come to light, but it's pretty disgusting. But I do feel multiple ways about it.
So I guess it came out before, and her response was, "It's a joke."
Yeah, which like I've seen comedians.
I listened to it. I watched it.
I've seen comedians say some vile things in the name of comedy. She's not a comedian, and it didn't sound like a joke.
And the thing is, like, sure, whatever, I'll give it to you. Anybody can tell a bad joke, but that wasn't a joke. Like, if you listen
she sounded
to
serious.
She was very serious. She got grumpy because that guy talked and was like, "I would hurt you." Like, I love that guy because he was like, well, I would feel bad for the kid, and I would feel bad for you because you'd be going to jail.
It's not easy to stand up to a beautiful, famous woman.
Especially when the other guys at the table are being pussies and just going with it or encouraging it, which is insane.
They seemed like they were like, it'd be a
they're the kind of guys that are like,
thing.
They're the kind
one
of guys
guy was very aggressively for it, and then the other two were kind of quiet.
Right.
But they were not saying anything negative about it, and whenever they were pressed, they were like, oh, yeah, that would be cool. Like, it was like...
Those are the kind of guys that are like, where was that teacher when I was,
And I've been blocking anybody that says any of that because it's not funny. And the thing is, like, it's like we as an industry have a responsibility because we are role models in a way. We are influencers for sex. And as a performer with over 1 million followers, as a mom, because she's a mom, how can you say shit like that and not retract it?
Being a mom is supposed to fundamentally change the way you view things like that.
You would hope.
I mean, yeah.
And it doesn't necessarily, but it's, if you give an iota of a fuck more about children than you do about your career and your contract with Pornhub, you need to retract that shit. You don't need to just go, oh, it's a joke. Like, it's not a joke.
It's an easy wall to hide behind saying it's a joke.
It's not. And even if it was a joke, it's not an okay joke. You need to take it back. You need to take it back. Because even on my posts about it, the guys were under there, like, talking the same shit, where it was like, oh, you're ridiculous. You're just jealous of her, and that's why. And it would be amazing for any boy to fuck Asa Akira. And I'm like, not necessarily. Like, and we can't perpetuate that.
There's this weird thing. I'm going to go on like a 30-second tangent here. There's a weird thing that men do.
Yeah.
We get weirdly obsessed with sex or fucking someone. And we, until we finally get it. And then we're in that like moment. And then we finally get laid. And you're laying there and you're like, dude, I spent so much time and energy trying to get to this point and it wasn't worth it. Like, what am I doing? You know, I think Lil Wayne has like it always stuck with me. He says, as soon as I come to my senses. It's not a song. It's like,
no, and the thing is, talk to any porn guy. They're all just vaginas. Like, they don't feel that different. And it's not like, none of them are special. None of them are going to clear out your debt. Like,
exactly.
The only important genitalia is the genitalia attached to the person you're in love with. And that's the only thing that makes it better or different. Like, it's all dicks and vaginas. It's not anything special. I think that's why, especially now, I'm super happy being monogamous, because like they're just dicks. Like, they're not important. Like, or just other vaginas.
It's not a
they're
big
not
deal
important.
anymore.
No, because it's like when I was younger, I was like, I want to experience everything, and I don't want to like hold myself back, and I don't want to miss out on anything. But now it's like I've experienced quite a few dicks and vaginas, and the important part is the person attached to it. So, you know, that's that.
Yeah, I don't want to keep you forever.
No, it's okay.
We're at 2 hours here, but I did want to go on like a small tangent about the Pornhub thing. What happened to Pornhub? Part of it being totally deserved, and part of it being targeted. And what about the millions of other tube sites? Not millions, but like the countless other tube sites that have literally no submission standards, that are making tons of money off ad revenue. And Pornhub is actually like following the rules now. Like, Jill and I have been audited like 50 fucking times on that site. And how, you know, there's a whole element of freedom of speech, and then there's legislation saying that websites aren't responsible for user submitted content, that a lot of other sites hide behind. And then you've got Twitter, where you can post whatever you want, and people are saying that's a freedom of speech issue. But then I also think you kind of give up your freedom of speech when you post pornography, or you're trying to market or sell something. You don't really have freedom of speech anymore in certain ways.
Yeah, you have responsibilities that are greater than the average person just screaming their opinion.
Yeah, and that's what you were talking about before about verification. And I've had pretty serious disagreements with other performers where I've said we need age verification for social media and adult social media, and certain performers see that as me trying to censor adult content, that I'm trying to silence adult workers, or that I'm trying to make it more difficult or create a barrier to the industry. And I think it's become so easy to jerk off. It's become so easy to access porn. Imagine if you were an alcoholic and you didn't have to even get up and go to the store. All you had to do was Google alcohol and you got your fix. Like, I've been addicted to porn before. I spent an entire summer when I was 18 jerking off, when I should have been having the time of my life and improving, learning valuable skills. And I think that people are kind of falling into a rough rhythm of becoming addicted to porn just because it's so accessible. It's fucking everywhere. Like, I even run into it on accident because my cookies are so dirty.
Yeah. And there's just so many people.
Filthy cookies.
Yeah, right. There's so many people also participating in this industry. I feel like there needs to be some sort of standard across the board, because just like everyone is, well, not everyone, but there's so many people.
The barrier to entry is non-existent.
There's so many.
I can create a Twitter and post a picture of my butthole all in 5 minutes. And weirdly enough, Twitter has no verification guidelines for adult content.
Yeah.
Well, because you're not paying for it, I guess. But it's so stupid. It's because they're not directly making money off of it. That's why.
Well, because it's user-submitted content, and they're legally insulated from user-submitted content, which is a very important piece of legislation to protect websites that can't possibly handle content moderation.
And I get that. And
scale.
we can't penalize sites for things slipping through the cracks either, because then what are we going to do? We'd have to penalize every site. Because when you were saying that, the thing that kept rotating in my brain was, what about fucking Facebook? Because Facebook is one of the worst offenders for CSAM, because it's not CP anymore. It's CSAM now.
Yeah, so it's just child exploitation material.
What's
the...
child sexual... Oh, fuck, wait.
It's child exploitation.
It's a better
an
way to
acronym.
phrase it
Yeah.
because when you say CP, you're insinuating that there's a possibility of porn
Mhm.
in that category, and
Mhm.
we want to separate the word porn from that.
Right, because that is
Okay.
not a category of porn. That's
Right.
like
It's,
Okay.
so.
it's a semantics thing, but it's like it's very important. It's shown in studies that like people react very differently to hearing whatever CSAM stands for now, and then I had it, and then CP. So it just factors different in the brain. But
and what Alex is referring to is on Facebook, there have been so many more cases of child exploitation material claimed being taken down, way more than Pornhub. But it just so happens that Meta or Facebook is deep in the pockets of lobbyists and other political organizations. So for whatever reason, or for that reason, among others, they didn't get targeted for mass demonetization like Pornhub did.
right, and I think that's a
like
problem.
Twitter too. It's totally
I think
a problem.
I think it's a huge problem because I think porn should be behind a paywall. I think I understand where both sides are coming from as far as the social media verification. I think that there needs to be. We all need to work together to figure out a better way to moderate everything.
Mhm.
And I understand, like, I don't want to put my real name on my Twitter. Like,
Right.
the verification on Instagram.
Right. You
puts
upload
real
your
name.
ID. What if they get hacked?
Yeah. And it's
Yeah.
like, I don't trust that website.
Yeah.
But at the same time, every porn website I've ever signed up for, I give them my
Has
fucking
your
ID. So
Yeah.
why am I trusting them more than I'm trusting a giant fucking company like Twitter?
Right.
I don't know. And I can't even say that because I have sent Instagram and Twitter my IDs before to try to get my account back.
Mhm.
So I don't really think that's a huge argument
Mhm.
as long as they're not making you put your real name in the header. Like or on the account where other people can see it. Like I don't think that's okay because we all need to be able to have a level of anonymity online for safety.
Yeah.
But I think what we're doing now is not working, and I think that we need to all be unfortunately cautious when we advocate for things because we don't want disingenuous people to be like, this is our chance to get rid of porn forever.
Right, exactly.
But we also need to avoid inaction, which is what we've done up until this point, which will also fuel this is how we get rid of porn forever.
Right.
So we have to find that happy medium of put the porn behind a paywall.
Or in a place where kids just can't see it. Like almost have like a separate fucking internet almost.
Yeah. Which is kind of what
they were trying to do, add XXX at the end of every adult site and a .com, org, everything else wasn't even allowed to have anything explicit. I remember that was floated and it was a lot of people lost their shit over that idea.
Well, I know that OnlyFans, the free version where you don't need a subscription to sign up, they age verify still. So it's like that's an option because I know that OnlyFans was promoting themselves as a adult social media platform also. So, I mean, I think there are options being developed. I think we just need to work a little harder and push for it a little bit more.
Yeah.
But I think especially with the performer revolution that the pandemic caused, where people started making their own content and focusing more on their own thing and it kind of shunned the companies and the agents a little bit. I think we have an influx of growth in the community and like people who are new to content creation and new to being their own boss in a way and who are excited and have fresh ideas that we can all share and utilize. And then, I think that.
We're nearing the end, you guys, but I did want to ask another difficult question.
All right, do it. Hey, this is what I'm doing today. So
you're looking at someone at the very beginning of their adulthood and they're telling you they want to do porn, they want to do adult work. They've made up their mind and they're asking you for advice. What kind of advice would you give a person that is just beginning their journey in the adult industry?
Have all your firsts on camera and for yourself. Don't give them to a company.
Own them yourself.
Own them yourself. Because every time I've owned my first myself instead of giving it to a company, I've made more money.
Yeah.
I would say start out camming, but start out like I wish I had. Start out non-nude camming.
Yeah.
Then move to lewd. Then show your butthole. Like it's like just
Baby
take
steps.
Yeah.
If you want to dive in head first and do all the crazy shit, fine, do that. But I'm just going to tell you, as a business plan, it makes way more sense to start out small and slowly increase everything. And you can do whatever the fuck you want to do off camera. You can have crazy punch me in the face sex off camera. Mm-hmm. But for your job, just start slow. Yeah, because I feel like I'd have made way more money if I'd have started out non-nude, lewd, then nude, then like artistic nude. And then, like there's so many areas
it
you can.
It influences the type of viewer that you're going to get, because if you do pigeonhole yourself into like a specific thing right away, then you're building your fan base based on that, and then they're only going to want you to do these things.
And I do think there's been a push because the industry is so saturated. Everyone's very much on the fast track.
Yeah,
agents are just trying to get the most money. They're just trying to get you into scenes before you change your mind.
And everybody wants to stand out.
Everyone wants to stand out. So you see a lot of girls, they don't start doing girl. They don't start doing, their first scene is anal with a dude that's with a dick the size of a freaking arm, And I think the agents that do that are mismanaging their talent for their own gain.
An agent will not do that with a talent that they think will actually have a career.
Yeah.
That's not how they handle it. Because you can watch the way that agencies, even within the same agency, will treat the girls different. And the only thing that we can really do to combat that is the girls need to all talk to each other. If you ever have a question about what's normal and what's not, you can always DM me. I don't care who you are. Just talk to me. I'll get back to you. I always check my DMs every day. And it's talk to each other. Talk to other girls in your agency. Talk about your rate. It's not fucking weird. Like I tell people my rate all the time. For a really long time, I was doing the normal rate of $1,000 for a boy girl and $600 for a girl. And now, after all the time I've been in, I do $1,300 for boy girl, $1,500 for boy girl. Like I will tell you all the info. I do not give a shit. So, like.
Because a lot of people see that as their like place in the hierarchy. They're like, well, I charge this much. And then if it's more or less, suddenly they're seeing themselves as being below or above.
And it's silly because it's just, here's the thing. I think the main thing that I would say to anybody that wants to do this, that's getting into it, is be your own advocate in every aspect of this. You are the person who has to advocate for you. I know that your agent is supposed to. I know that your friends are supposed to. I know that the director on set is supposed to, but you can't rely on that. And people, not even being malicious, can accidentally violate your boundaries, and you have to be your advocate. Nobody's going to stand up for you like you will, and that's your responsibility. If you want to get into this, you are taking on the responsibility of taking care of yourself, because if you can't do that, then it's not safe for you to do this, and you shouldn't do it. You should do something else until you're prepared to do that. I'd say what I said before about starting out slow, and then as far as rates and shit go, ask around, talk to your friends, talk to other girls in the industry, talk to girls that are with your agency and with other agencies, talk to directors on set. They love talking shop. And I found out from a director a long time ago that a girl was getting paid $1,500 for the same scene that I was shooting for $1,000. And I was like, that's amazing. I had no idea girls could charge that much. And he was like, oh, you know nothing. And so like, just talk to each other. And it's not anything we should be giving each other shit for either.
I think that goes for like camming stuff too, and OnlyFans, like asking people like what they charge for their videos or customs, or like not to be afraid to ask about that and like get the deets, because I think when you're first starting out, you really don't know. And I think some people may undervalue themselves or think they have to put something at a certain rate in order to like, get started. But
it's one of the hardest things. And girls like us, like girls that have been in this for a long time, need to make space for those people to ask us questions. And I know you do. And I love that about you. And I refer girls to y'all all the time, because I know for the longest time I was nervous to meet you guys because you're a cam couple, and I had like bad experiences with cam couples. So I was like, I don't know, they seem nice, but I don't know. I'll talk to them eventually. And
camming is vicious, because at the end of the stream you got to divvy the money, and some people are dirty.
And when you guys told me that we were splitting it 50-50, I was like, what? Like I think I might have asked you guys 3 times. Like I was like, are you sure? Like we can go 3 ways. Like and you were like, it's the same household, so it makes sense. And I was like, if you say so, but I disagree. And so it honestly, like you guys are great role models. And your cam room was coming into my cam room for years and being like, you would love them. Just go talk to them. So I mean, if you're doing this too, like don't be afraid of community, because it is very important, and you will find people that are nice to you, and you will find people that understand you, and all you have to do is talk to a bunch of people first, and you might meet some shitty people, but like they're few and far between. Most of us are pretty chill, and most of us have anxiety.
Yes,
so.
definitely.
Yeah. As does the average person.
Definitely.
So, I mean, like if you think somebody's maybe being like standoffish, they're probably scared. Just talk to them. So, but yeah, no, just, yeah.
Alex,
that's it.
Thanks so much for taking the time to talk to us. Thank you for being vulnerable and honest and well-spoken and well thought out. You have really good opinions on really important issues that kind of need to be talked through in this industry. And it's important to listen to your opinions because you've had the career, you've kind of gone through it. So those are the types of people we need to be listening to the most.
Well, I really appreciate you guys, and thank you for having me and letting me stay for much longer than you probably anticipated.
No, that's about right.
Okay, great.
This is great.
I just saw the time. I was like, oh.